One moment, y'all. We'll just have to deal with it like this. It's gonna be low lit tonight. Let my screen adjust a little bit. But I'm just fine with it being just like this. Not like they need to see me to hear what I'm saying. Where are we at? Exodus. And we're in the 22nd chapter. And the last chapter we read, obviously, was talking about the Hebrew servant, blase blase, blase blase. So what we're going to do now, 1 second. What we're going to do now is we're going to read the 22nd chapter going forward and get everything get everything set up the right way. Now, where we at? We just read to y'all all the good stuff. All this bright ass light out my eyes. I can't stand that shit. Oh my God. How these guys want the light to be so bright in their face all the time. God bless them. Verse 1 of chapter 22. And we're going to just do a marathon. We're going to end it all out. And if one steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall pay 5 calves for a calf and 4 sheep for a sheep. But if a thief be found in the breach made by himself and be smitten and die, there should not be blood shed for him. But if the sun be risen upon him, he is guilty. He shall die instead. Saying this, okay, just to undo the confusion of that part, saying that if a person gets caught, let's say like you make a hold on somebody's property, right? Or even into their home, breach, obviously. Where you think they got the term breach the door from? Anyway, if they make a breach on your home or at your home, what happens or what's supposed to happen is if you can't identify them, right? The blood is not on you. You can't, there's no way to say that you knew who that was. But if the sun has risen upon them, if the sun be risen upon them, meaning that you can see who they are and you kill them anyway, as opposed to going to their family or going to whoever it is that they're supposed to answer to, because it could be somebody else's servant. There's too many different little things. There's too many different instances that this could apply to for me to explain it. Just like, it would take all night. But just to put it in a nutshell, imagine that that's somebody else's servant going to a whole other person's land to steal something from them to bring it back to their master. Whether their master knows or not, their master should be given the chance to properly accommodate for this individual. Having said that, let's keep reading. But if the sun be risen upon him, he is guilty. He shall die instead. It's talking about he being the person that killed him. And if a thief have nothing, let him be sold in compensation for what he has stolen. Let him be sold in compensation for what he has stolen. So if you're a thief and you get caught stealing shit way back then, you're not too good to be a slave, player. Because you don't want to work anyway. Apparently, you stealing shit. And if the thing stolen be left and be alive in his hand, whether ox or sheep, he shall restore them twofold. And if anyone should feed down a field or vineyard, and should send his beast into feed down into another field, he shall make compensation of his own field according to his produce. And if he shall have fed down the whole field, he shall pay compensation, the best of his own field and the best of his vineyard. And if fire have gone forth and caught thorns, and should also set fire on the threshing floor of ears of corn or field, he that kindled the fire shall make compensation. And if anyone give to his neighbor money or goods to keep, and they be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, he shall repay double. But if the thief be found not, the master of the house shall come forward before God, and shall swear surely that he has not wrought wickedly in regard of any part of his neighbor's deposit, according to every alleged injury, both concerning a calf and an ass and a sheep and a garment and every alleged loss, whatever in fact it may be. The judgment of both shall proceed before God, and he that is convicted by God shall repay his neighbor double. So listen, it's pretty much trying to say, no matter what the situation, if y'all bringing it to the Most High God, but we're going to use that last part in particular, right? Where you lend somebody something and then it comes up missing, right? And you have to come and you have to make sure, like, they're pretty much saying, like, they're going to try this guy. They're going to ask him a bunch of questions. You know, they're going to make sure that what he's saying is the truth. If what you say is a lie, we need not worry about you. This is a fact. So what I perceive, right? I can't tell y'all anything else, but what I perceive is 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 pretty much trying to cover the grounds for if this happens with anybody's belongings, no matter what it is. If the person who was watching over it, if they're pretty much convicted, right? Once again, convicted, right? The Most High God is like, you have to repay double. Doesn't matter what it is. And did y'all catch that part about setting stuff on fire or destroying things or like letting your animals eat somebody's whole produce up? You have to give back. It is what you take. You have to compensate them. Now, all these things are being told to us so that way when we hear about the Jubilee, it all makes sense. Go ahead, let's keep going. And if anyone has given to his neighbor a calf to keep or a sheep of any beast, and it be wounded or die or be taken, and no one know, an oath of God shall be between both, each swearing that he has surely not been guilty in the matter of his neighbor's deposit. And so his master shall hold him guiltless. And so his master shall hold him guiltless, and he shall not make compensation. So a slave or a servant has to compensate their master. And these, it's trying to give us the understanding that the relationships or the different kind of relationships it could be, how many different ways it could play out. A man could bring his master's most prized lamb to be watched by another person who the master told him to go do this for. The man goes and says, hey, the master says, hey, go back and go get my lamb. It's been long enough. He goes just to find out that the lamb is no longer there. The master comes and now we have to figure out if the servant and the person who owns the house have been in on some kind of, foolery together. But if it comes to, to find out that this man who was his servant has done nothing wrong, then his master has to hold him guiltless. You can't try to put that on him. That's not his problem. So stuff happens. It really does. But if the owner be with it, he shall not make compensation. He shall not make compensation. But if it be a hired thing, there shall be a compensation to him instead of his hire. So if they find it with the master, there's no compensation. Does that make sense? Like, because you never know. You might still have it. Right. Somehow they whatever the situation is, use your imagination. Right? A man goes, drops off an animal or drops off some money. His servant goes and picks up the animal or picks up the money. The master's unaware of that. They don't know. Bang, bang, bang. Right? Or this one. The servant drops something off, but he only has what he has because he's staying with his master that he stays with. As opposed to the hireling or the servant being compensated, they're going to compensate the master. Let's keep pushing. Where do we be at? Verse 16. And if anyone deceive a virgin that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her for a wife to himself. And if her father positively refuse and will not consent to give her to him for a wife, he shall pay compensation to her or money according to the amount of the dowry of virgins. Ye shall not save the lives of sorcerers. Did you hear that? Ye shall not save the lives of sorcerers. Everyone that lies with the beast, ye shall surely put to death. He that sacrifices to any gods but the Lord alone shall be destroyed by death. So being destroyed, once again, let's just look at that real quick. Being destroyed by death means that you can be destroyed in other means. Meaning that when the Most High God says that his people are destroyed, it doesn't mean that they're dead, does it? No, it does not. Let's keep reading. And ye shall not hurt a stranger, nor afflict him. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Ye shall hurt no widow or orphan. And if ye should afflict them by ill treatment, and they should cry aloud to me, I will surely hear their voice, and I will be very angry, and will slay you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children orphans. Stop right there. Did you hear that? You shall hurt no widow or orphan. And if ye should afflict them by ill treatment, does it say what the ill treatment is? No, it does not. Ill treatment, meaning that it's not good. And they should cry aloud to me, I will surely hear their voice. Right. So there's a difference between just crying out in general and then crying up to the Most High God, like asking the Creator, like, whoever made the earth and the heavens, please, please do something about this, right? Tears running down their face, snot coming out, all that, right? Can barely breathe, just looking crazy, looking a mess. Yeah, the Most High God said, I got something for you, and it's not toilet paper. Let's keep reading. And if thou should, and if thou should lend us money to the poor, to thy poor brother who is by thee, thou shalt not be hard upon him. Thou shalt not exact usury of him. And if thou take thy neighbor's garment for a pledge, thou shalt restore it to him before sunset. For this is his clothing. This is his only covering of his nakedness. Wherein shall he sleep? If he then shall cry to me, I will hearken to him, for I am merciful. Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor speak ill of the ruler of the people. Did you hear that? Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor speak ill of the ruler of the people, of thy people. Thou shalt not keep the first fruits of thy threshing floor and press. The firstborn of thy sons thou shalt give to me. So shalt thou do with thy calf and thy sheep and thine ass. 7 days shall it be under the mother, and the 8th day thou shalt give it to me. Stop right there. Now, did y'all realize that the part where he says, not just him being merciful, obviously, but he says, thou shalt not revile the gods, right? Right? Nor speak ill of the ruler of thy people. What he's trying to say is that he's trying to keep the names of these deities, of these entities, these beings, these lowercase g gods. He's trying to keep their names out of your mouth, because when you speak their names, right, and you actually say their true name, that gives, I'm not going to say it gives them power, but it has to do something in frequency and spectrum. There's no way it doesn't. Just like when you speak the Most High God's name, he's like, don't take my name in vain, for a reason. There has to be a reason for him saying that. He's not just saying that to say it. Okay, here we go. And ye shall be holy men to me, and ye shall not eat flesh taken of beast. Ye shall cast it to the dog. Thou shalt not agree, thou shalt not receive a vain report. Thou shalt not agree with the unjust man to become an unjust witness. Thou shalt not associate with the multitude for evil. Thou shalt not join thyself with the multitude to turn aside with the majority so as to shut out judgment. Okay, let me break that down, because there's a whole lot of y'all black folks that do this shit to this day. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to break this. This is where no snitching and all that other foolery that niggas engage in comes into play. Let's go ahead and get it in. I didn't say not perjuring yourself. I said no snitching. Meaning you don't even commit crimes. You're not even out there in the streets, but you don't think that you should, this person who's being dishonest and evil, you believe that you should follow their lead. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick. It says, thou shalt not receive a vain report. So that means that you're not just going to, it would be like if somebody were to come to you and say, hey man, your wife is cheating on you, right? No evidence, no proof, no nothing. You see what I'm saying? And let's just use the wife instance, right? God says your wife is cheating on you. Then let's go to the second part. Thou shalt not agree with the unjust man to become an unjust witness. So a person coming to say this right here to you has another individual with him, even though there's no proof to it. This motherfucker's, he's like, yeah, I know. We both seen her. right? At Motel 6, right? Okay, y'all both seen her there. Lying. Now you're an unjust witness. Thou shalt not associate with the multitude for evil. So they could be like, man, we should go ride on this nigga. But even though this might be a move just to go do something to him, to the dude, ain't never even been with your lady. But now you about to go try to ride on this cat. Uh-oh, hold on. Let's go. Let's keep reading. Thou shalt not join thyself with the multitude to turn aside with the majority so as to shut out judgment. So it's saying that, let's say y'all go and y'all ride on this cat and there's other people who are there, right? And they're the minority. They're saying, man, this dude, this guy couldn't have done that. He been with us this whole time. Plus, he don't move like that. If a lady has a man already, he's not even trying to talk to her. He ain't trying to look at her like that. Look, they're saying there's five of you and there's three of them, or there's seven of you and there's three of them, whatever the number is, right? You can't be with the majority of the people who are trying to do something evil, right? Because all the things, the vain report, the unjust witness, right? Now the multitude, that's the multitude of evil, right? And the majority might do something that they ain't got no business doing, and they might have you involved in it too. See, right? Understand this, and this is for any situation that plays out completely for any one of these instances, or as a combination of all these things. Here we are. And thou shalt not spare a poor man in judgment. And if thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt turn them back and restore them to him. And if thou see thine enemy's ass fallen under its burden, thou shalt not pass it by, but thou shalt help it, but thou shalt help to raise it with him. Once again, these are enemy. Now, that little part right there about poor people, major part. Thou shalt not spare the poor in judgment, right? Okay. Thou shalt not rest the sentence of the poor in judgment. So what it means that you're not going to undo their sentence if they're poor, indeed. And let's say you're like, man, I like this guy. He's not a bad guy. But bro, he raped somebody. The sentence for that is death. You can't undo it because he's poor. And you're like, well, shit, if he has some money, he could have just bought her. He could have just paid for the dowry. Okay, he doesn't have any money. He's poor and he raped her and he's got to go. Facts. Yep. That's the truth. Absolute. Let's keep going. Thou shalt not rest the. Oh, that's right. So I had read before the original verse is, and thou shalt not spare a poor man in judgment. That's verse 3 of chapter 23. Let's just keep going. And thou shalt not rest the sentence of the poor in judgment. Thou shalt abstain from every unjust thing. Thou shalt not slay the innocent and the just, and thou shalt not receive gifts, for gifts blind the eyes of the seeing and corrupt just words. So it's saying right there, you can't try to undo what is happening because this dude is poor. You can't take gifts, number one, because that's going to blind your judgment, right? Right. And that's going to corrupt just. So even if it's right, it's still corrupted, right? As opposed to you not taking a gift and coming to the same conclusion. Right. See what I'm saying? Okay. And then it also says there, thou shalt abstain from every unjust thing. Thou shalt not slay the innocent and the just. Okay. So that means that when somebody's right and you're wrong, and they're saying, hey, this is what has to happen, and you go and you kill them because you don't want them to disrupt what you got going on, you're part of the problem. Doesn't matter how much money you have. See, do you see how the Bible's telling us, how the Septuagint is telling us, how much money you have is not important. It doesn't matter. No one cares. That doesn't make you right. In fact, you're probably wickedly evil because you have so much. Just throwing that out there. This is back then that people were normally looked at as like, I don't know what he did to get all that. Who knows what he did, right? To where nowadays, most people will tell you, man, if they got rich, for real, rich, oh, man. Yeah, they done something they ain't got no business doing. Where we at? And ye shall not afflict the stranger. Verse 9. For ye know the heart of a stranger. For ye know the heart of a stranger. For ye were yourselves strangers in the land of Egypt. 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and gather in its fruits of it. But in the 7th year thou shalt let it rest, and leave it, and the poor of thy nation shall feed, and the wild beast of the field shall eat that which remains. Thou shalt do to thy vineyard and to thine olive. 6 days thou shalt do works, and on the 7th day there shall be rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and that the son of thy maidservant and the stranger may be refreshed. Observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and ye shall make no mention of the names, and ye shall make no mention of the name of other gods, neither shall they be heard out of your mouth. So once again, in order to revile those gods, you have to speak their name. Right. This is why the Most High God is like, just don't even talk about them. The more you don't talk about them, the less they exist. Does that make sense? They're not real now. They're real to everyone else. They're just not real to you. Only the Most High God is real to you. That's it. No one else. Now, when I speak the things that I say these days, I say it to be giving you a lesson of the names of certain entities. Baal, and the likes, right? Because a lot of the names that we're reading about as we read these things are actually fallen angels, a lot of them. Anyway, let's keep going. Verse 14, keep ye a feast to me 3 times in the year. Did you hear that? 3 times. Take heed to keep the feast of unleavened bread. 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread, as I charged thee at the season of the month of new corn. For in it thou camest out of Egypt. Thou shalt not appear before me empty. Okay. And thou shalt keep the feast of the harvest of first fruits of thy labors. Whatsoever thou shalt have sown in the field, and the feast of completion at the end of the year, and the gathering of thy fruits of thy land. 3 times in a year shall all males appear before the Lord thy God. For when I shall have cast out the nations from before thee, and shall have widened thy borders, thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leaven. Neither must the fat of my feast abide till the morning. Thou shalt bring the first offerings of the first fruit of thy land into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the lamb in its mother's milk. So you're not going to cook a baby lamb in its mother's milk. And behold, I send my angel before thy face, that he may keep thee in the way, that he may bring thee into the land which I have prepared for thee. Take heed to thyself, and hearken to him, and disobey him not, for he will not give way to thee, for my name is on him. And I believe that this is the Most High God talking about the Messiah. Let's go ahead and keep it pushing. If ye will indeed hear my voice, and thou will do all these things, I shall charge thee with, and keep my covenant. Ye shall be to me a peculiar people above all nations, for the whole earth is mine. And ye shall be to me a royal priesthood and a holy nation. These words shall ye speak to the children of Israel. If ye shall indeed hear my voice and do all these things, I shall tell thee, I will be an enemy to thine enemies, and an adversary to thine adversaries. For mine angels shall go as thy leader, and shall bring thee to the Amorite, and the Kittite, and the Pharisite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgasite, and the Evite, and the Jebusite, and I will destroy them. Thou shalt not worship their gods, nor serve them. Thou shalt not do according to their works, but shalt utterly destroy them, and break to pieces their pillars. And thou shalt serve the Lord thy God, and I will bless thy bread, and thy wine, and thy water, and I will turn away sickness from you. There shall not be one on thy land that is impotent or barren. I will surely fulfill the number of thy days, and I will send terror before thee, and I will strike with amazement all the nations to which thou shalt come, and I will send hornets before thee, and thou shalt cast out the Amorites, and the Evites, and the Canaanite, and the Kittite from thee. And I will not cast them out in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and by little I will cast them out from before thee, until thou shalt be increased and inherit the earth. And I will set thy borders from the Red Sea to the sea of the Philistines, and from the wilderness to the great river Euphrates. And I will give into your hand those that dwell in the land, and I will cast them out from thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them and their gods, and they shall not dwell in thy land, lest they cause thee to sin against me. For if thou shouldest serve their gods, and there be these, for if thou shouldest serve their gods, these will be an offense to thee. Okay, let's go ahead and break this all down. That's a whole lot to unpack right there. Okay, first and foremost, he's saying, look, he has to, the Most High is reiterating himself of all the different individuals that are going to be destroyed. Now, note in the first part, he goes as far as to say the Pharisite, the Canaanite, the Amorite, the Kittite, the Pharisite, Canaanite, Girgashite, Evite, and Jebusite. Then in the second stance, he lets them know for sure that the Amorites, the Evites, the Canaanites, and the Kittites are for sure going to be pushed up out of there. If nothing else, if no one else, they're for sure going to be up out of there. And so you have to, keep that in mind and play your hand right. But so it's telling me, from what I perceive, the Parasite or the Pharisite and the Jebusite are probably going to be among the last to leave, and the Girgashite. So, but all these other groups were supposed to. The way that I'm reading it is that the Amorite, the Evite, the Kittite, and the Canaanites were supposed to be pushed off. No matter what you say, the Amorites, the Evites, the Jebusites, the Girgashites, the Pharisaites, right? They're all Canaanites. They come from Canaan. So when it says Canaanites, it's talking about people who particularly chose to keep and go under the banister of Canaan, as opposed to people who became a tribe of people for someone else. What else? Don't say the name of their gods. Don't sacrifice to them. Don't practice their ways. Don't do anything like them. Right. And I can't remove them all off the land, because then the wild beasts will multiply. Right. There'll be no one to keep that in check. So we can't do that. And also, the Most High God said that he was going to let these people to be a test. Right. That he was going to test Israel out with these individuals. Let's go ahead and keep going. Chapter 24. And he said to Moses, go up to the Lord, thou and Aaron, and Nadab, and Abiud, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they shall worship the Lord from a distance. And Moses alone shall draw nigh to God, and they shall not draw nigh, and the people shall not come up with them. And Moses went in and related to the people all the words of God and the ordinances. And the people answered with one voice, saying, all the words which the Lord has spoken, we will do, and be obedient, or hearken. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. Let me say that again. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord. And Moses rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the mountain, and set up 12 stones for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent forth young men of the children of Israel, and they offered whole burnt offerings, and they sacrificed young calves as a peace offering to God. And Moses took half the blood and poured it into bowls, and the half blood and half the blood he poured out upon the altar. And he took the book of the covenant, and read it in the ears of the people. And they said, all the things whatsoever the Lord has spoken, we will do and hearken therein. This is a book that obviously has to be with ink and paper. Right. This isn't the stone tablets. Right. So there's a lot going on, y'all. That's why I asked y'all, when did Moses know he was going to die? That's important. That's imperative. Because we're going to read later, maybe, I don't know if it's in the Exodus, but when we get through the rest of the story, I will have to come back and remind you of this part. Moses gets the laws and everything from the Most High God. And all the things that are written, I could say that the Most High God put down. Now, if you want to say that Moses wrote these things in the book, being told them, and then the Most High God doubled down on the efforts, be my guest. I just want to know the actual sequence of events as they took place. That's all. That's all. And you can tell that not a man, but something else had to have put the story forth, because the story itself is written outside of space and time. Yes, it is. It's written outside of space and time because it explained an instance that's supposed to happen, right? As if it's already happening, and then it'll go back to the present moment of events. That's how I know that a man did not write all this. It's impossible. Just keep reading. And all the words which the Lord has spoken. Whoa. And he took the book of the covenant and read it in the ears of the people. And they said, all things whatsoever the Lord has spoken, we will do and hearken therein. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it upon the altar. And sprinkled it upon the people. So he's throwing blood on them. And said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you concerning all these words. And Moses went up, and Aaron, and Nadab, and Abiud, and 70 elders of Israel. And they saw the place where the God of Israel stood. And under his feet was as it were a work of sapphire slabs, and as it were the appearance of the firmament of heaven in its purity. And of the chosen ones of Israel, there was not even one missing, and they appeared in the place of God, and did eat and drink. And the chosen ones of Israel, there was not one missing, and they appeared in the place of God, and did eat and drink. Now, I'm not going to get carried away. I'm just going to assume that this is talking about the people that were chosen who were actually chosen back then. But if I wanted to say some stuff like maybe that's talking about the ancestors, right? Maybe that's talking about Joseph, right? And his brothers, right? How do we know? How do I know it's not? Thank you. I don't know. It says the chosen. So at that point, whoever the chosen were back then, that's who was there. And the Lord said to Moses, come up to me into the mountain and be there, and I will give thee the tables of stone, the law and commandments, which I have written to give them laws. And Moses rose up, and Joshua his attendant. Now you see that part where I talked about where he wrote it, but he goes right back up. So I'm thanking God that it's right here. Do y'all see that? He literally was just telling us that Moses was writing the book, and Moses was writing himself. Now we're getting the part to where the Most High God is asking him to come up to the mountain. Like, now do y'all see what I'm saying? This stuff is outside of space and time. But a better example is coming. Give me a moment. And Moses rose up, and Joshua his attendant, and they went up into the mount of God. And to the elders, they said, rest there till we return to you. Rest there till we return to you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. And if any man have a cause to be tried, let them go to them. And Moses and Joshua went up to the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. And the glory of God came down upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the Lord called Moses on the seventh day out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was as burning fire on the top of the mountain before the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up to the mountain, and was there in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Now stop right there. Let's go back and look at something. You see how it says right here? Where we at? Where was I at? Where are we at? The appearance, okay, the appearance of the glory of the Lord was as burning fire on the top of the mountain. So the energy that the Most High God has, the power that He exudes, that He permeates, creates purity. Fire is a pure substance when you break it all down, because no matter what is being used to generate the fire will burn out. The fire itself creates cleanliness. You don't use cold water to clean something, you use hot water. Does that make sense, y'all? Are you guys with me? So when the Most High God comes down to any area, He purifies it, so to speak. Verse 1 of chapter 25. Only 15 more chapters to go, y'all. I know, big whoopee. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and take first fruits of all, who may be disposed in their heart to give. And ye shall take my first fruits. And this is the offering which ye shall take of them: gold, and silver, and brass, and blue, and purple, and double scarlet, and fine spun linen, and goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red, and blue skins, and incorruptible wood, and oil for the light, incense for anointing. One moment. And incense for anointing oil, and the composition of incense, and sardius stones, and stones for the carved work of thy breastplate, and the full length robe. And thou shalt make me a sanctuary, and I will appear among you, and thou shalt make for me according to all things which I will shew thee in the mountain, even the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all his furniture. So shalt thou make it. And thou shalt make the ark of testimony of incorruptible wood, and the length of 2 cubits and a half, and the breadth of a cubit and a half, and the height of a cubit and a half. And thou shalt gild it with pure gold. Thou shalt gild it within and without. And thou shalt make for it golden reefs twisted round about. And thou shalt cast for it 4 golden rings, and thou shalt put them on the 4 sides, 2 rings on one side, 2 rings on the other. And thou shalt make staves of incorruptible wood, and thou shalt gild them with gold. And thou shalt put into the staves, and thou shalt put the staves into the gold. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings. There we go. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings on the side of the ark, to bear the ark with them. The staves shall remain fixed in the rings of the ark, and thou shalt put into the ark the testimonies which I shall give them. And thou shalt make a propitiatory, a lid of pure gold, the length of 2 cubits and a half, and the breadth of a cubit and a half. And thou shalt make 2 cherubs graven in gold, and thou shalt put them on both sides of the propitiatory. They shall be made 1 cherub on this side, and another cherub on this side of the propitiatory. Thou shalt make the 2 cherubs on the 2 sides. The cherubs shall stretch forth their wings above, and overshadowing the propitiatory with their wings. And their faces shall be toward each other, and the face of the cherubs shall be toward the propitiatory. And thou shalt set the propitiatory above the ark, and thou shalt set the propitiatory on the ark above, and thou shalt put in the ark the testimonies which I shall give thee. And I will make myself known to thee from thence, and I will speak to thee above the propitiatory, the ark of testimony, between the 2 cherubs which are upon the ark of testimony, even in all things which I shall charge thee concerning the children of Israel. And thou shalt make a golden table of pure gold, in length 2 cubits, and in breadth a cubit, and in height a cubit and a half. And thou shalt make for it golden reefs twisted round about. And they shall make for it a crown of a hand breadth round about, hand width, hand thickness. Okay, this is going to be the tabernacle of witness. He's telling them how to build it. He's telling them what he wants inside of it. He's telling them what he wants to be done. He being the Most High God. And this is what I'm trying to say to y'all. How do we know that this was not on the stone? Right. And because it travels so much through space and time when it's talking, like the scripture itself, the first 5 books are literally within space and time. If you read the other books compared to the first 5 books, they're written totally different. Even in the Old Testimony, they're not written the same. No, they're not. You can tell that whoever the first 5 books come from was literally something that did not exist in regular time. Because it keeps, for all intents and purposes, I would really want a better way of saying this, but it keeps skipping around. You know, it keeps going from this thing to this thing and then back to this point. And for someone who's not aware that there's a different level of authority for one instance to another, that will cause confusion. Confuses me sometimes till to this very day. So, I mean, I know anybody else reading it who is less involved or less careful, it's just as susceptible to read it and not perceive certain, it's not perceive certain information. Let's go ahead and keep reading. And thou shalt make a twisted wreath for the crown round about, and thou shalt make 4 golden rings, and thou shalt put the 4 rings upon the 4 parts of his feet under the crown. And the rings shall be for bearings for the staves, that they may bear the table with them. And thou shalt make the staves of incorruptible wood, and thou shalt gild them with pure gold. Now, the table is a golden table of pure gold. There is no wood with the table. But the staves have incorruptible wood in them, so that way it's not bending all over the place and you can actually carry it. The reason why you use incorruptible wood is because what good does it do for you to gild it with gold for it to become brittle and it break down in the middle, and then the gold itself will snap and break into pieces on you. So this is so that way it could technically last forever. Had they done what they were supposed to do, we would be able to see this stuff. There wouldn't be no internet, I don't think. But if I was in the promised land, I'd be able to go see this stuff. Well, I wouldn't be able to see it unless I'm a Levite. I would be able to see the greatness of the Most High God in one way, shape, or form or the other, as opposed to just telling y'all about something that happened a long time ago and how we got screwed. And we're holding the dookie into the stick right now as I speak. Let me keep reading. And thou shalt make the staves of incorruptible wood, and thou shalt gild them with pure gold. And thou shalt, and the table shall be borne with them. And thou shalt make its dishes, and its censers, and its bowls, and its cups, which thou shalt offer drink offerings of pure gold, shalt thou make them. And if thou set upon the table showbread before me, and thou shalt set upon the table shewbread before me continually. Now, I want y'all to understand. Why do you think the Most High God told Moses to borrow silver and gold and raiment from the Egyptians? I said this when I first read it to everybody, but I'm not sure if people really get it. The whole point of them to do that was so that way he could have Moses to do this. No, some people gave way more because some people had a whole bunch of children and all their children got gifted stuff. Some people gave way less because they didn't get that much. I could also say some people gave way more because they didn't care. And some people gave way less because they was greedy. However you want to perceive it, let that be the case. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, and thou shalt make the candlestick of graven work. Its stem and its branches and its bowls and its knops and its lilies shall be of one piece. And the 6 branches proceeding sideways, 3 branches of the candlestick from one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick on the other, and 3 bowls fashioned like almonds. On each branch a knop and a lily, so the 6 branches proceed from the candlestick, and in the candlestick 4 bowls fashioned like almonds, and each branch knops the flowers of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of it, and a knop under 4 branches of it, and to the 6 branches proceeding from the candlestick, and in the candlestick 4 bowls fashioned like almonds. Let the knops and the branches of and let the knops and the branches be of one piece altogether, graven, if of one piece of graven of one piece of pure gold. Stop right there. This is deep. This is where they got that Hanukkah thing from, right? You know what I'm talking about? Where they have like the 7 candles. Where do you think that comes from? And the reason why he wanted to be like the bowls to be shaped like almonds, I'm just going to assume this. They needed something to catch the candle wax in, right? You know what I mean? You don't want it to just be dripping all over the place and getting everywhere. So you have to have it. It has to be large enough to catch all the wax and for you to be able to clean it out properly. This stuff is all being made with pure gold, but they all have gold and silver. For the most part, almost all the people that are in the wilderness have it. So it's not a big deal for him to ask for it. Here we go. And thou shalt make it, and thou shalt make it 7 lamps, and thou shalt set upon its lamps, and they shall be shine, and they shall shine from one front, and thou shalt make it funnel, and thou shalt make its funnel and its snuff dishes of pure gold. All these articles shall be a talent of pure gold. See thou make them according to the pattern shewed thee in the mount. Okay, so he's being told how to do all these things. Now I can't stress to y'all enough how gold and silver and even brass, all these things are different, have different levels of a conduit of what is it? What's the word? Conductiveness, right? Uh, the it's conduit energy, right? On its ability to hold and transfer energy from one place to another. If all this is pure gold and there's a certain level of energy there, the energy itself will present itself in a very particular and peculiar kind of way. And thou shalt make the tabernacle, chapter 26, verse 1. And thou shalt make the tabernacle, the curtains, the 10 curtains of fine linen spun, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, spun with cherubs. Thou shalt make them with the work of a weaver. The length of one curtain shall be 8 and 20 cubits, or 28 cubits, and one curtain, and one curtain shall be the breadth of 4 cubits. And there shall be the same measure to all the curtains, and the 5 curtains shall be joined to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be closely connected, the one with the other. And thou shalt make them loops of blue on the edge of one curtain, on one side for the coupling, and thou shalt make on the edge of the other curtain for the second coupling. 50 loops shalt thou make for one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make on the part of the curtain answering to the coupling of the second, opposite of each other, corresponding to each at each point. And thou shalt make 50 golden rings, and thou shalt join the curtains together with the rings, and it shall be one tabernacle. And if thou make for a covering of the tabernacle skins with the hair on, thou shalt make them 11 skins, and the length of the skin of one skin 30 cubits, and the breadth of one skin 4 cubits. Thou shalt be there shall be the same measure to the 11 skins, and thou shalt join the 5 skins together, and the 6 skins together, and thou shalt double the 6 skin in front of the tabernacles, and thou shalt make 50 loops on the border of one skin which is in the midst of the joinings, and thou shalt make 50 loops on the edge of the skin that joins it. And thou shalt make 50 brazen rings, and thou shalt join the rings by the loops, and shalt join the skins, and they shall be one. And thou shalt fix at the end that which is over in the skins of the tabernacle, half the skins that is left shalt thou fold over, of the according to the overplus of the skins of the tabernacle. Thou shalt fold it over behind the tabernacle, a cubit on this side and a cubit on that, which remains of the skins, in the length of these skins of the tabernacle. It shall be folding over the sides of the tabernacle, on this side and that side, that it may cover it. And thou shalt make for a covering of the tabernacle ram skins dyed red, and blue skins as coverings above. And thou shalt make the post of the tabernacle of incorruptible wood. Of 10 cubits thou shalt make one post, and the breadth of one post shall be a cubit and a half. Two joints shalt thou make in one post, answering the one to the other. And thou shalt do all the posts of the tabernacle, and thou shalt do to all the posts of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make the posts of the tabernacle 20 posts on the north side, and thou shalt make 20 posts, and thou shalt make to the 20 posts 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets to one post, one on both of its sides, and 2 sockets on the other post, one on both of its sides. And for the next side, the south, 20 posts, and for theirs 40 silver sockets, 2 sockets to the one post on both of its sides, and 2 sockets to the other post on both of its sides. And on the back of the tabernacle, at the part which is toward the west, thou shalt make 6 posts. And thou shalt make 2 posts on the corners in the tabernacle behind, and it shall be equal below. They shall be equal toward the same part from the heads to the joinings, so that thou shalt make both 2 corners, let them be equal. Okay, let me go ahead and let me finish up this part right here, and then I'm gonna break some of this stuff down. And it shall be equal below, and they shall be equal toward the same part from the heads to one joining, from the heads, to one joining. So shalt thou make to both the 2 corners, let them be equal. And there shall be 8 posts, and there are 16 silver sockets, 2 sockets on the one post on both of the side, and 2 sockets on the other post. And thou shalt make bars of incorruptible wood, 5 to post on one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars to one post on the second side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars to the hinder post on the side of the tabernacle towards the sea. And let the bar in the middle between the posts go through from the one side to the other. And thou shalt gild his post with gold, and thou shalt make them golden rings, into which thou shalt introduce the bars, and thou shalt gild the bars with gold. And thou shalt set up the tabernacle according to the pattern shewed thee in the mountain. Okay, oh my goodness. So he's telling Moses, hey, look, I want the ark to be obviously square. The ark itself is made out of incorruptible wood, gilded with gold. The staves are incorruptible wood, gilded with gold. 4 golden rings, pure gold. The rings never leave the ark. The staves never leave the ark. What else? The table that's going to be in the actual tabernacle. See, and people have to understand, there's 2 different parts to the tabernacle. There's the part where they do the sacrificing, and then there's the part where the Most High God like shews himself, right? And so we have to recognize that they're cooking on one part, right? And then the other part, they're actually there just for pure worship. So we need to be, conscious of this. Now, if it's 28 cubits, 3 times 20 is 60, 3 times 8 is 24. So that's 84 feet of length, roughly, of the sides that are going to be made. Because note, there's five. There's. You're going to connect 5 pieces, right? The reason why you're going to connect 5 pieces is because the tabernacle has to have a top, homies. Yeah, that's right. So just in case anybody was like, why is there 10 pieces? Well, would you just want for birds to be able to fly by and drop their dung or whatever in? You see what I'm saying? Or the rain to fall through and to put out your fire when you're actually in there doing sacrifice? No. So you have to have that. You have to have the extra piece, the 5th piece to go on top. You notice that how the to a certain direction, right? It doesn't name the east because the east is supposed to be where people, the face of the tabernacle is supposed to be open, right? And the 2 pieces, the two tents, however you want to call it, are supposed to be joined together. You get what I mean? So, I'm just talking about design. You can contend that they're built to be 2 tents that are built to be side by side, or you could contend that they're adjacent to one another, so one faces the other. But I assume that they're side by side because they're coupled together. You get what I'm saying? They have couplings. Coupling means to be brought together, right? So this is, once again, all these different things they got about the Bible. They copied it literally out the scripture, and people don't want to admit that because it makes them look bad. Where am I at? Where am I at? There we go. And notice the colors being used, and also note that it says that if you use skins of an animal that have hair left on it, you're supposed to use 11, right? And the unit of measurement is just a little bit different. And they want you to use, instead of gold rings, they want you to use brass. That's what I want y'all to see. I wanted y'all to pay attention to that and to see that. That's critical. I'll say it like that. Anyhow, so we keep reading. Verse 31 of chapter 26. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet woven and fine linen spun. Thou shalt make it cherubs in woven work. So the cherubs are like the winged, I don't know if they're like lions or whatever, but it's like a winged creature. It's like they make cherubs look so different. Sometimes they look like griffins, uh, but it's like the winged lion for the most part. That's what I imagine a cherub is. Uh, they're like people. I know you guys have seen a cherub. I know for a fact there's no way you've gotten this far in your life and never seen a cherub on either TV or represented in some sort of way. But the cherubs, I do believe, are a creature that is in the heavens. Let's just keep going. And thou shalt make a veil of blue and purple and scarlet woven and fine linen spun. And thou shalt make a cherub, and thou shalt make it cherubs in woven works. And thou shalt set it upon 4 posts of incorruptible wood, overlaid with gold. And their tops shall be gold, and their 4 sockets shall be silver. And thou shalt put the veil on its post, and thou shalt carry it thither, whether the within the veil, the ark of testimony. And the veil shall make a separation for you between the holy and the holy of holies. And thou shalt screen, with the veil of the ark of the testimony in the holy of holies. And thou shalt set the table outside the veil, and the candlestick opposite on the table on the south side of the tabernacle. And thou shalt put the table on the north side of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make a screen for the door of the tabernacle of blue and purple and spun scarlet and fine linen spun, the work of the embroiderer. And thou shalt make a veil, 5 posts, and thou shalt gild them with gold, and their chapters shall be gold. And thou shalt cast them 5 brazen sockets. Stop right there. This is deep. Okay, I know I'm going over all the gold works and all this, that, and the other. And I know I can't think of the brother's name who's from the tribe of Judah, who the Most High God endows with all the knowledge to do all the work, and all the other people of Judah and all the other people of Dan who are endowed and blessed with understanding. My point is this: if you guys ever realize the individuals that Moses is around have to be skilled, because he's telling Moses to do all this, but Moses doesn't do all this work by himself. So how could the Most High God be asking a man to do this and nobody have the abilities to do it? Think about that. That means in Egypt, people weren't just working and breaking their backs, even though that was a lot of people's work. There were people in Egypt that were embroiderers. There were people in Egypt that were goldsmiths, right on? Metal workers for all intents and purposes. There were people who obviously did physical, hardcore labor. But anyway, let's keep going. Verse 1 of chapter 27. Chapter 27, verse 1. And thou shalt make an altar of incorruptible wood, again with the incorruptible wood, 5 cubits in length, and 5 cubits in the breadth of the altar, and 5 cubits in breadth. The altar shall be square. Now, why would it tell us that? Because trees are naturally round. Y'all show me a square tree that's incorruptible wood, and I'll shut my mouth. But I can guarantee you the reason why it was said is because you have to shape that circle into a square. And the height of it shall be 3 cubits. And thou shalt make the horns, on the 4 corners. And the horns shall be of the same piece. And thou shalt make a rim for the altar, and its covering, and its cup, and its flesh hooks, and its fire pan, and all its vessels thou shalt make of brass. And thou shalt make for it a brazen grate, like the grate that you put your food on top of when you're grilling. That's a grate, just in case y'all didn't know. So once again, these dudes is full-blown grilling, cooking, frying, baking, boiling, all of it, sauteing. They're doing everything. I don't want to get carried away. Note that the instruments to cook with, right, are made out of brass. Let me read that last part one more time. And thou shalt make for it a brazen grate with network, So I'm thinking that network is you know how you make a net, how it crosses over, right? I think they got they copied the design for the modern grill, with the lines going across, up and down and then going across, right? Like a web does. They got that out the Bible. And thou shalt make for the grate 4 brazen rings under the 4 sides. And thou shalt put them below under the grate of the altar. And the grate shall extend to the middle of the altar. And thou shalt make for the altar staves of incorruptible wood. And thou shalt overlay them with brass. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings. Let the staves be on the sides of the altar to carry it. Thou shalt make it hollow with boards, according to what was shewed thee in the mount, so that thou shalt make it. Now, I'm thinking he's talking about the actual part that's going on top of the altar, right? He's saying that you're going to make that part hollow. I don't think he's talking about making the altar hollow. I think he's talking about the part that goes on top of the altar with the grates and all that, because you don't want it to be too heavy. Let's keep going. Thou shalt make it hollow with boards, according to what was showed thee in the mount, so thou shalt make it. So thou shalt make it. And thou shalt make a court for the tabernacle, curtains of the court of fine linen, spun on the south side, the length of 100 cubits for one side. Their pillars 20, and 2 brazen sockets for them, and their rings and their clasps of silver. There shall be to the side toward the north curtains of 100 cubit in length, and their pillars 20, and their sockets of 20 of brass, and the rings and the clasps of the pillars, and their sockets overlaid with silver. And in the breadth of the tabernacle, toward the west, curtains of 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. Now, I wanted to point that out, that everything to the west is normally behind you, right? So I don't know if they purposely do that on. So these would be like the tents. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them like this. They're tall on the side, and then the front, and then in the back it slants down and it gets really low. That's how I imagine this talking for the whole tabernacle. And I couldn't tell you what that's for. I don't know I don't know the geometric advantage that gives you. I really couldn't tell you. Nothing is coming to my mind right now, so forgive me, please. Let us keep reading. And in the breadth of the tabernacle towards the south, the curtain 50 cubits, their pillars 10, and their sockets 10. And the height of the curtains shall be 50 cubits for one side opposite of the gate. For the one side, for the one side of the gate. There we go. So you have a tall, it's weird how that goes. So they want to the south and the west to be lowered, and they want for the east or for the north and for the east to be higher. Like, I'm trying to figure out what that's about. Anyway, let me just keep reading, man, because I'll just confuse myself thinking about it. And for the second side, the height of the curtain shall be 15 cubits, 3 pillars, and 3 sockets. And the veil for the door of the court, the height of it, 20 cubits of blue linen, and of purple, and spun scarlet, and of fine linen spun with the art of the embroiderer. Their pillars 4, and their sockets 4. And the pillars of the court round about overlaid with silver, and their chapiters silver, and their brass sockets. And the length of the court shall be 100 cubits on each side, and the breadth 50 on each side, and the height 15 cubits of fine linen. And all the furniture and all the instruments and all the pins of the court shall be made of brass. And do thou charge the children of Israel, do let them take for these refined pure olive oil beaten to burn light. Listen, refined pure olive oil, meaning that there's not refined olive oil, meaning that there's olive oil that have y'all ever tried to make your own olive oil? It's actually easier than you think, but it's harder than you think at the same time too, because crude oil would have chunks of old olive in it. You get what I'm saying? So it would be one of those things. One moment. But it's telling us this for important reasons. So that way people understand what they're dealing with, right? And do thou charge the children of Israel, let them take the refined pure olive oil, beaten to burn for light, that a lamp may burn continually in the tabernacle of testimony, without the veil that is before the ark of covenant, before the ark of the covenant. Shall Aaron and his sons burn it from evening until morning before the Lord. It is a perpetual ordinance throughout your generations of the children of Israel. Okay, so do y'all notice? Do y'all really hear what's going on right now? Moses is being told first to make this tabernacle that's so big. Then you're making the court that's so big. I'm not saying that they can seamlessly walk from the court to the tabernacle, but the way that it's supposed to be built, it gives me that idea. You see what I'm saying? Like, no one's supposed to come into the tabernacle a witness, right? The people are not supposed to do that. only the Levites are supposed to touch everything, and only they are supposed to actually deal with that. And nobody's supposed to actually set eyes on the Holy of Holies. Right on? They're not supposed to do that. So when it's saying that, okay, well, tell the people to do this, he's really saying for the Levites to do that. And this is where I can't stress enough people being not pure blood or not having the understanding of why being a pure blood Israelite hurts. You have individuals right now, as these ordinances and these rules are being given to the people, who don't even believe in the Most High God. Right. So already they're double dealing. You have people who I'm sure helped to build the tabernacle of witness. I'm positive they have no love for the Most High God. Right on? But they helped to do it. So the question you have to ask yourself is this, is when they're being told to do these things, being asked or charged or ordered, however you want to say it, could it just be that some of them are doing this so that way they can try to become a stumbling block to the people? I.e., somebody who gives up a lot of silver, a lot of gold, but is a type of man to go lay down with another man as he would with a woman. Right. I mean, you just don't know who's doing the work. You really don't. And those things, I'm pretty sure that affected a lot of actually what took place in the wilderness. I can't stress it enough, but the tabernacle of witness took a lot of time to build. Obviously, the wilderness they're in has trees. You can't tell people to build shit out of wood if there's no wood available. That's impossible. Right. So wilderness does not mean desert, the way that people have associated the wilderness with. When I think of wilderness, I think of the wild, and the wild has trees. So they can't get me to believe that. Anyway, let me just keep reading because I'm going to get carried away on a tangent for no reason. Verse 1, chapter 28. And do thou take to thyself both Aaron, thy brother, and his sons, even them of the children of Israel, so that Aaron, Abiud, Nadab, that's right, Nadab, Abiud, and Eleazar, and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron, may minister to me. And thou shalt make holy apparel for Aaron, thy brother, for honor and glory. And speak thou to all those who are wise and understanding, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception, and they shall make the holy apparel of Aaron for the sanctuary, which is apparel, in which apparel he shall minister to me as priest. And these are the garments. Now, did you hear how he said, and speak to those all who are wise and understanding, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception. Check that out. So anybody that has those things, the Most High God has given it to them. They're not all that I have, all that I'm able to share with you and show to you at any point. It's only because the Most High God allows me. It's not anything to do with my willpower or my perseverance or me being to endure or anything like that. That's not why I'm able to do this. I'm able to do this because the Most High God allows my mind to perceive it because he wants me to perceive it. That's it. That's all. And these are the garments which they shall make: the breastplate, and the shoulder piece, and the full-length robe, and the tunic with the fringe, and the tire, and the girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron and his sons to minister to me as priests. And they shall take the gold, and the blue, and the purple, and the scarlet, and fine linen, and they shall make the shoulder piece of fine linen spun, the woven work of an embroiderer. And it shall have two shoulder pieces joined together, fastened on the two sides, and the woven work of the shoulder pieces which is upon it. Ye shall be of one piece according to the work of pure gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take the two stones, the stones of emerald, and thou shalt engrave on them the names of the children of Israel. 6 names on the first stone and 6 names on the second stone, according to their births. Stop right there. Are y'all hearing how this is going on? And do you realize the level that they of natural resources that they have available to them? So they didn't leave for once again, I can't stress this enough. They did not leave Egypt empty-handed. The number of men alone, able fighting men, 600,000. Right. That didn't count. That wasn't counting the women and the children. There's millions of, there's literally over 3 or 4 million people, because you have to include all the Egyptians and the mixed multitude that would leave with the children of Israel. There's literally millions of people in the wilderness, like a whole country where a few different nations worth of people today, because you have countries right now that barely have 2 million people in them, places like Kosovo and shit like that. So can't nobody get me to believe otherwise. Now let's keep reading, and let's just. Oh, also, do y'all get it? His uniform is like a football uniform. So he has one pad on his left, one pad on his right, and he has the strings connecting them. And he has the piece of gold in the back that makes it solid, or the piece of gold in front. However, they have it all put together, right? But he has the emerald on one side and the emerald on the other, and the names of the tribe are literally etched in the stone. Now, for all intents and purposes, how do they know what emerald is if these guys don't know nothing? Right. Thank you. Thank you. People's perception is so messed up. And let's speak to this real quick. The reason why Aaron and his sons are chosen, once again, people like to try to say that, that Moses cooked the books, so to speak, right? To make it in favor of the Levites. But it is the tribe of Levi that, for all intents and purposes, they're the reason why the people are free from the tyranny of the Egyptians. Let's keep going. And thou shalt put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the shoulder piece. They are memorial stones for the children of Israel. And Aaron should bear the names of the children of Israel. And Aaron should bear the name, and Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel before the Lord on his 2 shoulders, a memorial for them. And thou shalt make circlets of pure gold. And thou shalt make 2 fringes of pure gold, variegated with flowers, wreathen work. And thou shalt put the wreath fringes on the circles, fastening them on the shoulder pieces in the front. And thou shalt make the oracle of judgment, the work of the embroiderer, keeping with the ephod. Thou shalt make it of gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen spun. And thou shalt make it square, and it shall be double of the span of the length, and it shall be double of a span of the length of it, and of the span of the breadth. And thou shalt interweave with the texture of 4 rows of stone. And there shall be a row of stones of sardius, a topaz, an emerald, the first row, and the second row, a carbuncle, a sapphire, and a jasper, and the third row, a liguire, and a gate, amethyst, and the fourth row, chrysolite, a beryl, an onyx stone, set round with gold, bound together with gold. Let them be according to the row. And let the stones of the names of the children of Israel be 12 according to their names. Engravings as of seals. Let them be for the 12 tribes, each according to the name. And thou shalt make on the oracle between woven fringes a chain work of pure gold. And Aaron shall take the names of the children of Israel on the oracle of judgment on his breast, a memorial before God, for him as he goes into the sanctuary. And thou shalt put the fringes on the oracle of judgment. Thou shalt put the wreaths on both sides of the oracle, and thou shalt put the 2 circlets on both the shoulders of the ephod in front. And thou shalt put the manifestation and the truth of the oracle of judgment, and it shall be on the breast of Aaron. So they're talking about a major piece. Oh man, it's all good, brother. You know what I'm saying? Hope all is well. I pray that you get to work safe. I'm just trying to clean up the last little part of the Exodus. And as we can see, the ephod has to be something that either is being worn or can be carried with somebody's hands, because there's no staves, there's nothing to prop it up on. And what we're understanding was that those were the clothes of the priest of Aaron, so Aaron the priest. So he has not only the two emeralds that have the names of the tribes in them, but he has in front of him another breastplate, right? That has all these different, stones, precious metals, and each precious metal is in representation of the tribes. Notice that the stones become less valuable the further down you get. Okay. No disrespect to the other tribes, right? But the eldest tribes have the most precious stones. Case in point, the fourth row is chrysolite, beryl, and onyx. Okay, the first row is, sardius, topaz, and emerald. Stop it. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys go look up we're in chapter 28, and this is verse 17. Go look that up for the Exodus. Look up each one of those stones. I did it before years ago, when I made a video of like what the different stones look like. Y'all can go look and go see. Those stones are not all worth the same. I'm not saying that that's how they view the value of each of the tribes, but you have got to realize that sardius and topaz are in representation of Reuben and Simeon, and emerald is in representation of Levi, the third born. I won't even get carried away with it. It's so deep. It is so deep. It's so deep. Let's keep reading. Whoa. And thou shalt put the manifestation and the truth on the oracle of judgment, and it shall, or the Urim and Thummim, and it shall be on the breast of Aaron when he goes into the holy place before the Lord. And Aaron shall bear the judgments of the children of Israel on his breast before the Lord continually. And thou shalt make the full length tunic of all blue, and the opening of it shall be in the middle, having a fringe round about the opening, and the work of the weaver woven together, and the joining of the same piece, that it might not be rent. So he's saying that he wants it to where Aaron can never rip the garment. He can never rent. It can never be rent ever. Right on. It'll be too strong, too sturdy. Right. Give me one moment. And under the fringe, the robe below that, and under the fringe of the robe below, thou shalt make it as it were pomegranates of a flowering pomegranate tree, of blue and purple and spun scarlet, and fine linen spun under the fringe on the robe round about, golden pomegranates of the shape, and bells round about between these, and a bell by the side of a golden pomegranate, and flower work on the fringe of thy robe round about. And the sound of Aaron shall be audible when he ministers, as he goes into the sanctuary before the Lord, as he goes out, that he die not. So pretty much, this is the Most High God's way of saying, I don't want. It's not that he's saying that he could not sense Aaron or not hear him or whatever, but let's say Aaron were to just walk into the tabernacle of witness, right? And the Most High God did not want him to be in there for whatever reason. He's like, man, I will end it for this dude. Like, once again, man, the Most High plays no games. 0%. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Either you're holy or you're not. That's how I feel that he looks at it. And man, you ain't got to thank me for nothing, man. You know what I'm saying? I thank y'all just for coming to hear me say the same things I've already said before. But rereading the work can't be bad for us. Let's keep reading. And the sound of Aaron shall be audible when he ministers, as he goes into the sanctuary before the Lord, and as he goes out, that he die not. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and thou shalt grave on it as the graving of a signet, holiness of the Lord. And thou shalt put it on the spun blue cloth, and it shall be on the mitre, which is, I think, is his hat. You know, the thing that the Pope be wearing, them big old funny looking hats. I think that's what a mitre is. And it shall be in the front of the mitre, and it shall be on the forehead of Aaron. And Aaron shall bear away the sins of their holy things, and all that the children of Israel shall sanctify of every gift of their holy things. And it shall be on the forehead of Aaron continually, acceptable for them before the Lord. So all this gold, all this stuff, there has to be a reason why it's all gold. Outside of that, gold is nice, right? There has to be, once again, some sort of spectral frequency reason why this is the reason, why it is being told to do it just this way. Note, Aaron's clothes are decorated like what kind of tree? Just think about it. Don't type it in. Say it in your heads to yourself. What kind of tree has bells on it and and orbs that could be mistaken for the size or the shape of a pomegranate? Let's keep going. And the fringes of the garments shall be of fine linen, and thou shalt make a tire of fine linen, and thou shalt make a girdle, the work of the embroiderer. And for the sons of Aaron, thou shalt make tunics and girdles, and thou shalt make them tires for honor and glory. And thou shalt put them on Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, and thou shalt anoint them, and fill their hands, or consecrate their hands. And thou shalt sanctify them, and that they may minister to me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make for them linen drawers to cover the nakedness of their flesh. They shall reach from the loins to the thighs. And Aaron shall have them, and his sons, whenever they enter into the tabernacle of witness, or whenever they shall advance to the altar of the or whenever they shall advance to the altar of the sanctuary to minister. So they shall not bring sin upon themselves, lest they die. It is a perpetual statute for him and for his seed after him. Now, before we begin the 29th chapter, keep this in mind. The Most High God, remember, he told Moses, hey, man, I want you to do it by yourself. I want you to be my guy. And Moses was like, nah, I don't talk well. I don't talk good. He's like, okay, forget it. Your brother's going to meet you in the wilderness, and you're going to tell him everything I told you. If Moses does not do that, I could contend either Moses is a priest all by himself, right? Seeming even more powerful to the people, or Moses' sons would have been a lot. Once again, this is deep. This is why I say what I say about the whole stranger not being allowed to come into the tabernacle, because Moses' own sons would have been strangers for all intents and purposes. If you really want to break it down, they would have been strangers for all intents and purposes. But the thing is, Moses didn't do that. So the person who was his spokesperson while he was dealing with Pharaoh is now going to be the spokesperson for all intents and purposes, who's going to minister to the Most High God. Let's keep going. And notice, you got to have on underwear when you go into to see the Most High God, meaning that people didn't run around with underwear on like that back in the day. For them to be told that you need undergarments, right, means that people didn't always have them on. Facts. Verse 1, chapter 29, verse 1. And these are the things which thou shalt do to them. Thou shalt sanctify them, so that they shall serve me in the priesthood. And thou shalt take one young calf from the herd, and two unblemished rams, and unleavened bread, kneaded with oil, and unleavened cakes anointed with oil. And thou shalt make them of fine flour of wheat. Okay, bam, here we go again. I got to stop right there. My boy, Wavy Israel, you know what I'm saying? He was always telling me that he thought that it was, organic or gluten-free flour. But the problem with that perception is that I don't know if my brother has ever seen flour be refined, and how there's different stages of it. There's stages of flour that still have chunks of the raw granules in it, and then there's truly fine flour where all the chunks, we've sifted the flour, regrounded the chunks out, resifted it, and done this process to where all we have is fine flour. So when it says fine flour, I have to go with the idea of how I understand that wheat is threshed, is that it was literally made into fine powder, and there are no chunks, there are no large impurities, so to speak, in the flour that actually come from the wheat or whatever it is that you harvested to make that happen. And just for people's FYI, most of you have seen wheat grow in your yards, didn't know it was wheat, didn't know that you could take it, harvest it, and grind it up and make flour out of it. Most of you have seen rice plants in your life, didn't know that that was rice growing. That's neither here nor there. Food literally grows all over the earth, literally. Where are we at? So the fine oil, I mean the unleavened loaves with oil, and unleavened cakes anointed with oil. Thou shalt make them of fine flour of wheat, not corn, not rye, not barley, but wheat, and not rice either, but wheat, not potatoes, not nothing else that you can make bread out of, right? And adding it to another substance. He said wheat. Let's keep going. And thou shalt put them in one basket, and thou shalt offer them on the basket, and the young calf, and the two rams, and thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the doors of the tabernacle of testimony. Thou shalt wash them with water, and having taken the garments, thou shalt put on Aaron thy brother the full length robe, and the ephod, and the oracle, and thou shalt join for him the oracle to the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre on his head, and thou shalt put on the plate even the holiness on the mitre. And thou shalt put the plate, even the holiness, on the mitre. He's talking about that little gold plate, right? And thou shalt take of the anointing oil, and thou shalt pour it on his head, and shalt anoint him, and shalt bring his sons, and shalt put garments on them, and thou shalt gird them up with girdles, and put tires upon them, and they shall have a priestly office to me forever. And thou shalt fill the hands of Aaron and the hands of his sons, and thou shalt bring the calf to the door of the tabernacle of witness. And Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the calf before the Lord by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt slay the calf before the Lord by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt take of the blood of the calf and pour it on the horns on the altar with thy fingers, and put it on the horns of the altar with thy fingers. But all the rest of the blood thou shalt pour it at the foot of the altar. And thou shalt take all the fat that is on the belly, and on the lobe of the liver, and the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and thou shalt put them upon the altar. But the flesh of the calf, and his skin, and his dung, thou shalt burn with fire without the camp. For this is an offering on account of sins. So note how it's telling us right then and there that a dead animal still has what inside of his body? Dung, right? The dung, the flesh, the skin, all that gets burnt outside of the camp. But the liver, the kidneys, and the stomach, all that right there, y'all gonna skin the fat off, the fat and everything on it. Y'all gonna put all that right there on the altar to cook. That's a sin offering. So the sin offering means that you do not eat it. A peace offering and a burnt offering you take part in, but a sin offering you do not eat. And thou shalt take one ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and thou shalt kill it, and take the blood and pour it on the altar round about. And thou shalt divide the ram by his several limbs, and thou shalt wash the inward parts and the feet with water, and thou shalt put them on the divided parts with the head, and thou shalt offer the whole ram on the altar, a whole burnt offering to the Lord, for a sweet smelling savor. It is an offering of incense to the Lord. And thou shalt take the second ram. So y'all notice how the ram is cut up into pieces, right? The head, the legs, and then you have to wash the feet and the inner parts of it. So they're not just killing an animal, gutting it, and then throwing the fur and everything onto the damn fire. Okay, they have some sense to them. It's dirty work. It's really dirty work, right on? So they're their own butchers. They're their own everything. They do all their own work, right? Right. The people actually don't want to have to do all that, and they wouldn't know how to properly get rid of everything anyway. The Most High God is telling them how I want it all to be gotten rid of. Let's keep going. And thou shalt divide the ram by its several limbs, and thou shalt wash the inward parts and the feet with water, and thou shalt put them on the divided parts with the head, and thou shalt offer the whole ram on the altar, a whole burnt offering to the Lord, for a sweet smelling savor. It is an offering of incense to the Lord. And thou shalt take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram, and thou shalt kill it, and take the blood of it, and put it on the tip of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb, of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot, and the tip of the right ear of his sons, and the thumb of their right hands, and on the great toes of their right feet. And thou shalt take the blood from the altar and the anointing oil, and thou shalt sprinkle it upon Aaron and his garments, and on his sons, and on the sons, and on the and on his sons, and on his sons' garments with him, and he shall be sanctified in his apparel, and his sons apparel with him. But the blood of the ram thou shalt pour out upon the altar, and thou shalt take the ram, and thou shalt take from the ram its fat, both the fat that covers the belly, and the lobe of the liver, and the two kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and the right shoulder. For this is a consecration, or an accomplishment, a filling of hands. And one cake made with oil, and one cake from the basket of unleavened bread, and set forth before the Lord. And thou shalt put them all on the hands of Aaron, and on the hands of his sons, and thou shalt separate them as a separate offering to the Lord. And then, whoa. And thou shalt take them from their hands, and shalt offer them up upon the altar of whole burnt offering, for a sweet smelling savor before the Lord. It is an offering to the Lord. And thou shalt take the breast of the ram of consecration, which is Aaron's, and thou shalt separate it as a separate offering before the Lord. And it shall be to thee for a portion. And thou shalt sanctify the separated breast and the shoulder of removal, which has been separated, which has been removed from the ram of consecration, of the portion of Aaron, and that of his sons. And it shall be a perpetual statute for the children of Israel and his sons, for this is a separate offering. And it shall be a special offering from the children of Israel. From the peace offering of the children of Israel, a special offering to the Lord. Okay. So if y'all cut all that, there's two different offerings going down in the one offering, right? And he's saying, look, not only are you going to cook the ram this way, and he's, the blood on the right ear, the right thumb, and then the great toe, which is your big toe. On all three of his sons, he sprinkles them down with oil and blood, right? Bang, 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 bang. So their uniforms would actually look different after a while. Their clothes would start out looking one way and they would look totally different after a while. And that's how it's supposed to be. But the problem is that that's not really a problem. The thing is that people have to recognize that these offerings, like when it's said to take this and to take this, that's for them. Right. Because they don't have an actual, the Levites don't have a real portion. You see what I'm saying? They don't have the city that they're going to inhabit. They don't have anything of their own per se, right? They're supposed to be the royal priesthood who end up turning into grifters at a certain point. But we're not going to go there just yet because we're not anywhere close to that part of the scripture. And the apparel of the sanctuary, which is Aaron, shall be his sons after him, for them to be anointed in them and to fill their hands. The priest, his successor, from among his sons, who shall go into the tabernacle of witness to minister to the holies, to minister in the holies, shall put them on 7 days. And thou shalt take the ram of consecration, and thou shalt boil the flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the loaves in the basket by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. They shall eat the offerings with which they were sanctified, to fill their hands, to sanctify them, to fill their. So let's go ahead and break this down. The reason why is telling them to boil the ram shoulder. Have y'all ever had shoulder in your life? Cow shoulder, lamb, anything like that? I'm not gonna say it's tough, but it's a piece of meat that needs to be tenderized. So after you cook it on the fire long enough and darken it up and make it look right, make it smell good, now we need to toss it in this cauldron and break it down and make it nice and very edible. Now let's read this next part because this next part is actually very important. They shall eat the offerings with which they were sanctified to fill their hands, to sanctify them. And the stranger shall not eat of them, for they are holy. Did it say that a stranger who sins shall not eat of them? Did it say a stranger who is not holy shall eat of them? Did it say a stranger who is not trying to be a proselyte shall not eat of them? It says no, the stranger shall not eat of them. So even if there's one law to the native and to the stranger in the land, the Most High God is like, you still do not let them to cut. There's certain things they don't get to take part in. Right. That's from the Most High God to his priest. You do not get to eat that. People don't respect nothing, man. They don't. Once again, you have fools who try to say, "Oh man, my kids," sounding retarded because to me they keep saying "my baby goats." Right? Once again, they don't get it, y'all. They want you to respect that. Man, I got kids I'm trying to go home to. Okay, heard all that. But I have rules that I'm trying to follow that supersede your idea of an informal name for a child. Informal name for a child, like calling me a nigger and saying, "Well, I meant to say black man." Right. How can people, once again, how could these dudes be mad at Joe Rogan for saying the word nigga, but they say the word kid? And don't say that they're not the same. You calling somebody's child a wild animal is a fucking offense. It's a major offense. If you call my son a kid, and I told you repetitiously I have a child, and you keep calling him a kid, I'll probably punch your lights out. That's how I'm gonna feel about it. So understand that the backwards thinking is why we're here. We're not here because of forward thinking, because people know how to look to the future. We're here because of backwards thinking. Most like I was teaching them how to think forwardly, how to think with your mind going forward. Everybody ain't your friend, and everybody can't get in on what you do. That's the point of it being exclusive. Now let's read. They shall eat the offerings with which they were sanctified with to fill their hands to sanctify them. And a stranger shall not eat of them, for they are holy. And if aught be left of the flesh of the sacrifice of consecration and the loaves of the morning, thou shalt burn the remainder with fire. It shall not be eaten, for it is a holy thing. And thou shalt do for Aaron and for his sons according to all things that I have commanded thee. 7 days thou shalt fill their hands, and thou shalt sacrifice the calf of the sin offering on the day of purification, and thou shalt purify the altar when thou dost perform consecration upon it, and thou shalt anoint it so as to sanctify it. 7 days thou shalt purify the altar and sanctify it, and the altar shall be most holy. Every one that touches the altar shall be hallowed. And these are the offerings with which thou shalt offer upon the altar. Stop right there. Before I go any further, Brother Hassan Bunnell, man, listen, we was talking and the brother said, yo, I think the abomination of desolation was somebody offering swine on the actual tabernacle. On the actual altar, right? Once they got the temples built, right? He said he believed that the abomination of desolation was somebody offering swine. Brother Scribe used to think that it was the Ark of the Covenant that had been defiled. I don't know, but I tell you this: swine being offered in a place that's supposed to be most holy, that sounds like an abomination of desolation to me. I could easily be wrong. Now let's keep going. And these are the offerings which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 unblemished lambs of a year daily on the altar continually, a constant offering. 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning, and the second lamb thou shalt offer in the evening. And the 10th measure of fine flour mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil. And thou shalt drink, and a drink offering, the 4th part of a hin of wine for 1 lamb. And thou shalt offer the second lamb in the evening, after the manner in the morning, according to the drink offering of the morning lamb. And thou shalt offer it, and thou shalt offer it an offering to the Lord for a sweet smelling savor, a perpetual sacrifice throughout your generations, at the door of tabernacle of witness before the Lord, wherein I will be known to thee from thence, so as to speak to thee, and I will there give orders to the children of Israel, and I will be sanctified in my glory, and I will sanctify the tabernacle of testimony and the altar, and I will sanctify Aaron and his sons to minister to me as priests to me, and I will be called upon the children of Israel, or named among the children of Israel, excuse me, and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, to be called upon by them and to be their God. Stop right there. Did y'all hear how the 2 lambs that they cook every day? So there's a 10th measure of fine flour mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil, right? So it's like whipped oil, right? Pretty much, right? And they mix those together, mingled. So what do you think they're doing to this lamb other than frying his ass up? Huh? Can you hear me? Y'all can even go as far as to say as they're trouncing the lamb, unless they're pouring the actual drink offer on the ground. If the drink offer is being poured onto the altar of sacrifice, because this is a deep fried braised lamb. Braised lamb coated with red wine, or however y'all want to. Man, it is bomb. When I say slapping, slapping. If y'all don't like lamb, then it's not that good. But I love some lamb. I'm tearing some lamb up any day of the week, all 7 days if I can help it. Anyway, I just wanted y'all to see how I was seeing that this is like an animal that's being cooked, hard fried. So he's gonna be anyway, stupendous. Chapter 30, verse 1. Let me just keep reading. And thou shalt make the altar of incense of incorruptible wood. And thou shalt make it a cubit in length, a cubit in breadth. It shall be square. Obviously, trees are not square, they're round. And the height of it shall be 2 cubits. Its horns shall be of the same piece, or one piece. And, excuse me. And thou shalt gild its grate with pure gold, and its sides round about in horns. And its sides round about and its horns. And thou shalt make for it a wreathen border of gold round about. And thou shalt make under its wreath border 2 rings of pure gold. And thou shalt make to it the 2 corners on the 2 sides. And thou shalt be for bearing, and thou shalt be for and they shall be bearings for the staves, so as to bear with them. And thou shalt make the staves of incorruptible wood, and thou shalt gild them with gold. And thou shalt set it before the veil that is over the ark of the testimonies, wherein I will make myself known to thee from thence. And Aaron shall burn up its fine, and Aaron shall burn upon it fine compound incense every morning, whensoever he trims the lamps. Whensoever he trims the lamps, he shall burn incense upon it. And when Aaron lights the lamps in the evening, he shall burn incense upon it, a constant incense offerings always before the Lord for their generations. And thou shalt not offer strange incense upon it, nor an offering made by fire, nor a sacrifice. And they shall not pour a drink offering upon it. And once in the year, Aaron shall make atonement on its thorns, and shall purge it with blood of purification for their generations. It is most holy to the Lord. Okay, so this is an incense stand, right? Gotta get that out of me. This is an incense stand, right? And he's saying you don't cook on it, you don't put no drink offering on it, nothing. Everything incorruptible wood, everything gilded with gold, right? With the reefs on it. Where do you think they got the reefs from? Right. Y'all do realize that the Israelites were around way before the Romans, right? And I say way before, I'm talking about like as far as the children of Israel practicing this culture. This was way before there was a known Rome. This was way before there was a known Rome. A known Rome. I think they got it from in Greece. Right. Oh, these same individuals didn't ransack the temple again and get to see everything and then copy it. And the same Gentiles that you see now who put these things in the movies. Anyway, man, I don't even want to go there. Let's keep reading, please, because it'll just make me aggravated. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, if thou take account of the children of Israel and the surveying of them, and they shall give everyone a ransom for his soul to the Lord, then shall there be not among them a destruction in the visiting of them. Okay. What it's saying just now, the ransom, right? Which is another way of saying what is it? To redeem you, right? That's another way of saying, if they redeem themselves, right? But the ransom is the money, okay? So if they pay what each of the souls are so-called worth, I'm assuming that's what a soul is worth to be sold into slavery, right? Listen to what he's saying. If thou take account of the children of Israel in the surveying them, and they shall give everyone a ransom for his soul to the Lord, then there shall be not among them a destruction, right? A destruction in the visiting of them. So he's saying that if y'all give me the money, right, you have to understand, the Israelites didn't give themselves that silver or that gold. They didn't give that to themselves. They didn't have it before they left Egypt. Right. If they had money before they left Egypt, they all could have bought their own freedom out of Egypt. They didn't have that kind of money. So the Most High God is like, look, you tell them that they pretty much, if they give up the ransom, what they're worth, that when I come visit in my visitation, I'm not going to destroy them. Right. So this is an indication that that probably didn't happen. If I'm saying this to you right now, that means that that didn't happen. Pathetic. It is what it is. And this is what they shall give: as many as pass the survey, half a didrachm, which is according to the didrachm of the sanctuary. 20 oboli go to the didrachm. But the half of a didrachm is the offering to the Lord. Everyone that passes the survey from 20 years old and upwards shall give the offering to the Lord, shall give the offering to the Lord. The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a didrachm in giving the offering to the Lord, to make atonement for your souls. And thou shalt make the money of the offering, and thou shalt take the money of the offering from the children of Israel, and shalt give it for the service of the tabernacle of testimony. And it shall be to the children of Israel a memorial before the Lord, to make atonement for your souls. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, make a brazen laver and a brazen base for it for washing, or a laver, lavatory, right? And thou shalt put it in between the tabernacle of witness and the altar, and thou shalt pour forth water into it. And Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet with water from it. Whensoever they shall go into the tabernacle of witness, they shall wash themselves with water, so they shall not die. Whensoever they advance to the altar to do service, and to offer the whole burnt offering to the Lord, they shall wash their hands and feet with water. Whensoever they shall go into the tabernacle of witness, they shall wash themselves with water, that they die not. It shall be for them a perpetual statute, for him and for his posterity after him. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, do that also take sweet herbs. What? Sweet herbs. Did he say sweet fruit? No. Sweet herbs, meaning that which comes directly up out of the ground and did not come up off of a tree. Do thou also take sweet herbs, the flour of choice myrrh, 500 shekels, and the half of this 250 shekels of sweet smelling cinnamon. So shekels is a weight, is a unit of measurement of weight. And 250 shekels of sweet smelling calamus, and of cassia, 500 shekels of the sanctuary, and a hin of olive oil. And thou shalt make it a holy anointing oil, a perfumed ointment tempered by the art of the perfumer. And it shall be holy anointing oil. And thou shalt anoint with it the tabernacle of witness, and the ark, and the ark, and the ark of the tabernacle of witness. There we go. And all its furniture, and the candlestick, and all its furniture, and the altar of incense, and the altar of whole burnt offerings, and all the furniture, and the table, and all its furniture, and the laver. And thou shalt sanctify them, and they shall be most holy. Everyone that touches them shall be hallowed. So you're not touching anything that the Most High God is deeming holy, not being a holy person. Does that make sense? Not saying that anyone other than a Levite can't be holy, but the Levites are the holiest of all the tribes. Right. Let's just keep reading. Where are we at, Jonesy? And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons, and sanctify them, that they may minister to me as priests. And thou shalt speak to the children of Israel, saying, this shall be to you a holy anointing oil throughout your generations. On man's flesh it shall not be poured. and ye shall not make any for yourselves according to this composition. It is holy, and shall be holiness to you. Whoever shall make it in like manner, and whosoever shall give of it to a stranger, shall be destroyed from among the people. And the Lord said to Moses, take for thyself sweet herbs, again, not sweet fruit, sweet herbs, stacked, onycha, sweet galbanum, and transparent, what? And transparent frankincense, meaning that you can see through it. And there shall be an equal weight of each, and they shall make with it a perfumed incense, tempered with the art of a perfumer, a pure holy work. And of these thou shalt beat some small, and thou shalt put it before the testimonies in the tabernacle of testimony, whence I will make myself known to thee. And it shall be to you a most holy incense. Ye shall not make any for yourselves according to this composition. It shall be to you a holy thing to the Lord. Whosoever shall make any in like manner, so as to smell it, shall perish from his people. Okay. Man. There's so much I could say about that, but I'm going to say it like this. I've never seen an incense that actually looks like gel, right? No, there's no thing on this planet that is transparent that does not have a jelly-like essence to it in its original form. Like everything I can't think of any leaf that I can think of right now that's transparent, right? The only things I can think of right now like that are like like aloe vera, right? And I want to say that the aloe plant is mentioned in the book of Enoch, so it could easily be aloe that is in this this incense, right? It could very well be just that, because I can't think of anything else right off the top of my head that is from nature that has a transparent look. But aloe vera is the first thing that comes to my mind. Aloe. Here we go. Chapter 31, verse 1. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, behold, I have called by name Basaleel, the son of Urias, the son of Or, of the tribe of Judah. And I have filled him with a divine spirit of wisdom, a divine spirit of wisdom and understanding and knowledge to invent in every work. To what? Invent in every work. And to frame works, to labor in gold and silver and brass and blue and purple and spun scarlet, and works in stone, and for artificers, work in wood, to work all works. And I have appointed him, or given him, and Eliab, the son of Achisamach, of the tribe of Dan, to everyone understanding in heart, I have given understanding, and they shall make all things as many as I have appointed thee. So does he say skilled? No, he says understanding. Because to have skills, you must understand. Come on, y'all. I'm trying to give y'all all the game I have. I've been trying to give to y'all for years. Whether y'all want it or not, I'm not gonna say I don't care, but that don't change. I'm not deterred by the people not wanting to hear the Most High God's word. And they shall make all things as many as I have appointed thee, the tabernacle of witness, and the ark of the covenant, and the propitiatory that is upon it, and the furniture of the tabernacle, and the altars, and the table, and all its furniture, and the pure candlestick, and all its furniture, and the laver, and its base, and Aaron's robes of ministry, and the robes of his sons to minister to me as priest, and the anointing oil, and the compound incense of the sanctuary, according to all that I have commanded thee, they shall make them. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, do thou also charge the children of Israel, saying, take heed and keep my Sabbaths, for they are a sign with me and among you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that sanctifies you. And ye shall keep the Sabbath, because this is holy to the Lord for you. He that profanes it shall surely be put to death, and everyone that shall do a work on it, that soul shall be destroyed from the midst of its people, from the midst of his people. 6 days thou shalt do works, but the seventh day is the Sabbath, a holy rest to the Lord. Everyone who shall do a work on the seventh day shall be put to death. And the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbaths, to observe them throughout their generations. It is a perpetual covenant with me and the children of Israel. It is a perpetual sign with me. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and on the seventh day he ceased and rested. And he gave to Moses when he left off speaking to him. And he gave to Moses when he left off speaking to him at Mount Sinai 2 tablets, the tablets of stone written upon with the finger of God. Before we start chapter 32, let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. Remember, like I said, those 10 commandments that he said at first, he spoke those for everyone to hear, and they were rattled. So they were like, "Hey man, you go up and you go talk to God." Moses is like, "All right." So he goes up, has the elders with him. The Most High God's feet is looking like precious stones, sapphire and stuff, right? And literally, the whole mountain, the top of where he's at, is on fire. And he's talking to Moses right now. This has been over 40 days. I want y'all to understand this. I don't know. The end of what I just read to y'all, I think, is the end of the 40 days. I'm trying to get y'all to understand this. Moses had 40 whole days with the Most High God to understand this. I am but a mortal man who has not had a moment with the Most High God. And I'm trying to relay this to you. Please be gracious. If you can't be that, humble yourself. Humble yourself for yourself. If not for your sake, do it for your children's sake. If you don't have any children, do it for the sake of someone else's children that you love. I have nothing to gain to you with which I've already read to you before. You've nothing to lose to try to gain what it is that you don't already have. Let's keep reading. Verse 1 of chapter 32. 32 verse 1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people combined against Aaron and said to him, "Arise and make us gods who shall go before us. For this Moses, the man who brought us forth out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him." I told y'all he was gone for 40 days. They're like, "Oh man, this nigga gone forever. We don't know what's going to have to happen to him. We don't know what's going on." And Aaron says to them, "Take off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and your daughters, and bring them to me." So men didn't normally have their ears pierced. And all the people took off the golden earrings that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received them at their hands and formed them with a graving tool. And he made them a molten calf and said, "These are thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt." This nigga Aaron, hey, shit, man. Oh my goodness. As opposed to him going hard and riding for the Most High God. See, understand why the Most High God is like, "Yo, what are y'all doing?" Let's go ahead and keep reading. And Aaron, having seen it, built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation saying, "Tomorrow is the feast of the Lord." And having risen early on the morrow, he offered a whole burnt offerings and offered a peace offering. And the people eat, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Go quickly, descend hence, for thy people whom thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt have transgressed. They have quickly gone out of the way which thou commandedst. They have made for themselves a calf and worshipped it and sacrificed to it and said, These are our gods, O Israel, and they brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And now let me alone, and I will be very angry with them and consume them, and I will make thee a great nation. Stop right there. Did y'all hear that part? Let's read that again. And now let them alone, and I will be very angry with them and consume them, and I will make thee a great nation. At this point right here, this is where Moses could have totally turned the. I would not be reading to you right now if Moses had said yes to this. And Moses prayed before the Lord God and said, Wherefore, O Lord, art thou very angry with thy people, whom thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, with great strength and with thy high arm? Take heed, lest at any time the Egyptians speak, saying, With evil intent he brought them out to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from off the earth. Cease from thy wrathful anger, and be merciful to the sin of thy people, remembering Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, thy servants, to whom thou swore by thyself, and hast spoken to them, saying, I will greatly multiply your seed as the stars of heaven for multitude. And all this land which thou spokest of to give to them, so that they shall possess it forever. And the Lord was prevailed upon to preserve the people, or propitiated. Understand, what Moses done was righteous, but look at where we are right now. The only reason why I can say God bless Moses is because if Moses doesn't do that, then the Most High God is a lie. That Abraham's seed would be a stranger in a foreign land for 400 years. So God bless Moses that I could be here to be proof that the people did not keep the covenant. Salute to Moses. But boy, am I, oh, boy, am I sad about it. And Moses turned and went down from the mountain. And the two tables of testimony were in his hands, tables of stone written on both their sides. And they were written within and without. And the tables were the works of God. And the writing of God written on the tables. And Joshua, having heard the voice of people crying, says to Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. And Moses says, It is not the voice of them that begin the cry of defeat, but the voice of them that begin the banquet of wine do I hear. So Moses is explaining, hey, Joshua, you don't hear people crying because they're fighting. What you're hearing is excitement. Moses has been alive a lot longer than Joshua. He can discern these types of things, right? A day in the life, these moments are the closest thing we get to a day in the life. We don't have a moment by moment a circumstance for any character in the scripture where he arose from his sleep, gathered water, woke up all of his servants, told his servant to do this task, that servant to do. We don't have a day in the life. Nowhere close. We have moments in the days of the life, and we have to take from those moments and literally come to the conclusions that the Most High God wants us to find out. That's why he chooses who will be wise and have understanding and have knowledge. He chooses. And when he drew nigh to the camp, he sees the calf and the dances. And Moses, being very angry, cast the two tables out of his hands and broke them into pieces under the mountain. Do y'all understand how strong he had to be to do that? I want y'all, the next time y'all outside and y'all see a brick or a cinder block that looks like don't nobody want or don't nobody need, pick it up and throw it down on the ground and tell me how many pieces it falls into. These were powerful, powerful men. For all intents and purposes, whoever you think is strong today Ain't nothing like these individuals now. Even though I think I fancy myself a little strong, ain't nothing like these guys way back then. These were very powerful men, very powerful. Where are we at? And having taken the calf which they made, he consumed it with fire, and ground it very small, and scattered it on the water, and made the children of Israel to drink it. And Moses said to Aaron, what has this people done to thee, that thou hast brought upon them a great sin? And Aaron said to Moses, be not angry, my Lord, for thou knowest the impetuosity of the people, which they're impetuous, or they're impulsive. One moment. For thou knowest the impetuosity of this people. For they say to me, make us gods, which shall be before us. For as this man Moses, who brought us out of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And I said to them, if anyone has golden ornaments, take them off. And they gave them me, and I cast them in the fire, and there came out this calf. This nigga ain't, when I say this nigga ain't shit, Aaron ain't shit, y'all. Okay? Wow. Let me read that to y'all again so that way y'all understand what I visualized Aaron said to Moses in that very moment. Moses' eyes is red. He breathing hard. Got veins in his forehead. All the veins in his forearm showing. He is pissed off to the highest levels of festivity. Right? And then Aaron fixes his lips to say this right here. I said to them, if anyone has golden ornaments, take them off. And they gave them me. And I cast them into the fire. I just put them into the fire, right? And there came out this calf. Boy. The fact that Moses didn't try to slap earth, wind, fire, and water out of this nigga is an amazement to me. Let me just go ahead and keep reading, because oh man, that is crazy. And when Moses saw that the people were scattered, for Aaron had scattered them so as to be rejoicing to their enemies, then stood Moses at the gate of the camp and said, who was on the Lord's side? Notice there's a gate to their camp. So they actually have a fence around where they're at. No matter where they're at, they're fenced in. I want y'all to understand. This is steep. Okay. The regular poop butts, the regular Egyptian dudes in the mixed multitude, they're not seeing this. They can maybe witness it from afar off, but they have to worry about their own situation. They're not seeing this. And Moses said, what? Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come to me. Then all the sons of Levi came to him. Then what? All the sons of Levi came to him. And he says to them, thus says the Lord God of Israel. Thus says the Lord God of Israel, put everyone his sword on his thigh, and go through and return from gate to gate through the camp. From gate to gate, meaning that they're gated off, meaning that you can't just run up on them and do them harm. You have to actually, man, anyway, people don't understand what was going on out there. It was a massive traveling city, country, whatever you want to call it. Put everyone his sword on his thigh, and go through and return from gate to gate through the camp, and slay everyone his brother, and everyone his neighbor, and everyone that is nearest to him. And the sons of Levi did as Moses spoke to them. And there fell the people in that day the number of 3,000 men. And Moses said to them, ye have filled your hands this day to the Lord, each one on his son or on his brother, so that blessing should be given to you. He's saying that whatever was going to be given to those people, those sons and those brothers, is now your blessing. And it came to pass after the morrow had begun that Moses said to the people, ye have sinned a great sin. And now I will go up to God, that I make atonement for your sin. And Moses returned to the Lord and said, I pray, O Lord, this people have sinned a great sin, and they have made for themselves golden gods. And now if thou wilt forgive their sin, forgive it. And if not, blot me out of thy book. What? Listen to Moses. This dude, God, he's trying to hold the Most High God ransom, trying to hold him hostage, man. Listen to Moses, man. No wonder he didn't get to see the promised land, because he should have been like, just get rid of all of them, but he wouldn't do that, and it cost Moses in the end. I guess it all supposed to happen. I guess it was meant to be. I don't know, man. Anyway, do y'all hear this, man? Let me read this to you again. And if thou wilt forgive their sin, forgive it. And if thou wilt not forgive, and if not, blot me out of thy book which thou hast written. And the Lord said to Moses, this nigga Moses is something else, guys. And the Lord said to Moses, if anyone has sinned against me, I will blot them out of my book. And now go and descend and lead this people into the place which I spoke to thee. Behold, my angel shall go before thy face, and in the day when I shall visit, I will bring upon them their sin. And the Lord smote the people for making the calf which Aaron made. Stop right there. Do y'all get this part? Do y'all understand this part for real, what it's really saying to you? Moses tried to pull a gangster move. I don't want to be in the book then. Take me out. Most like I was like, whatever, nigga, and literally ignored him and was like, yo, whoever sins against me is going to get blotted out. If they don't sin against me, then they good. Right? You follow what I'm saying? Can you dig it? Right. Not this whole, if they can't make it, I don't want to make it. See, reading that reminds me that I have to get out of a certain type of mindset that I be in every once in a while, where I'm like, fuck it, I'll go to hell for these niggas. Word, I'll take the damnation over the salvation for these niggas. Most of God said, no, you won't. No, you won't, bruh. That's not your job. But it seems like it's worth it to me. For everybody else to make it, for one person to really lose all that they'll ever have, all that they'll ever be, to never know that they ever existed anyway in the first place, that seems like a fair trade-off. Verse 1 of chapter 33, verse 1. And the Lord said to Moses, go forward, go up thence, thou and thy people, whom thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, into the land which I swore to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, saying, I will give it to your seed. And I will send at that time my angel before thy face, and he shall cast out the Amorite, and the Kittite, and the Pharisite, and the Girgashite, and the Esite, and the Evite, and the Jebusite, and the Canaanite. And I will bring thee into a land flowing with milk and honey. For I will not go up with thee. What? For I will not go up with thee. Because thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee by the way. So the Most High God is saying, look, I'm going to send my angel. I'm not going. Because I mess around and kill you trying to get these dudes to the promised land. Right. So after all that crazy stuff that Moses said, he's like, I got something for that. I'm going to send my angel. Because I'm not coming. Because if I come, or Moses, you mess around and get touched. And that just goes to let you know that anybody can get it from the Most High. Anybody. He does not care. Where we at? And the people, having heard this grievous saying, mourned in mourning apparel. For the Lord said to the children of Israel, ye are stiff-necked people. take heed lest I bring unto you another plague and destroy you. Now then, put off your glorious apparel and your ornaments, and I will shew thee what I will do to thee. And the sons of Israel took off their garments and their array at the mount of Horeb. And Moses took his tabernacle and pitched it without the camp. And Moses took his tabernacle and pitched it without the camp at a distance from the camp. And it was called the tabernacle of testimony. And it was called the tabernacle of testimony. And it came to pass that everyone that sought the Lord went forth to the tabernacle which was without the camp. And whenever Moses went into the tabernacle without the camp, all the people stood everyone watching by the door of his tent. And when Moses departed, they took notice until he entered into the tabernacle. And when Moses entered into the tabernacle, the pillar of the cloud descended and stood at the door of the tabernacle. And God talked to Moses. And all the people saw the pillar of the cloud standing by the door of the tabernacle. And all the people stood and worshiped, everyone at his door at his tent. And the Lord spoke to Moses face to face, as one should speak to his friend, as if one should speak to his friend. And he retired into the camp. But his servant Joshua, son of Nae, a young man, departed not from the tabernacle. And Moses said to the Lord, Lo, thou sayest to me, lead on this people. But thou hast not shewed me on whom wilt thou send with me. But thou hast said to me, I know thee above all, and thou hast found favor with me. If then I have found favor in thy sight, reveal thyself to me, that I may evidently see thee, that I may find favor in thy sight, and that I know, and that I may know that this great nation is thy people. And he says, I will go before thee and give thee rest. And he says to him, if thou go not up thyself, bring me not up hence. And how it shall surely be known that both I and this people have found favor with thee, except only if thou go with us. So both I and the people be glorified beyond all nations, as many as are on the earth. And the Lord said to Moses, I will do this thing. I will do for thee this thing which thou hast spoken. For thou hast found grace before me, and I know thee above all. And Moses says, manifest thyself to me. This guy, cuz. I love Moses, bro. He might have been the most meek man while he yet lived, but this man's heart, okay, he got all the heart that it takes to be a real leader. And God said, I will pass by before thee with my glory, and I will call by my name, the Lord, before thee, and I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and will have pity on whom I will have pity. And God said, thou shalt not be able to see my face, for no man shall see my face and live. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me, thou shalt stand upon the rock, and when my glory shall pass by, then I will put thee into a hole. I will put thee into a hole of the rock, and I will cover thee with my hand, and I shall have passed by, and I will remove my hand, and thou shalt see my back, and thou shalt see my back parts. But my face shall not appear to thee. And the Lord said to Moses, hew for thyself 2 tables of stone, as also first, and come up to the mountain, and I will write upon the tables the words which were on the first tables, which thou brokest. And be ready by the morning, and thou shalt go up. And thou shalt go up. Oh. And thou shalt go up to Mount Sinai, and shalt stand there for me on the top of the mountain. And let no one go up with thee, nor be seen in all the mountain, and lest not sheep and oxen feed near that mountain. And Moses hewed 2 tables of stone, as also were the first. Now, what's about to happen is very amazing, y'all. And I'm going to break it down to why I believe the Most High God told him, let no one come up with you and let no animals eat off the mountain. Let's go ahead and just read. And the Lord descended into a cloud, and stood near him there, and called by the name of the Lord. And the Lord passed by before his face, and proclaimed, the Lord God, pitiful and merciful, long suffering, and very compassionate, and true, and keeping justice and mercy for thousands, taking away iniquity and unrighteousness and sins. And he will not clear the guilty, bringing the iniquity of the fathers upon the third, upon the children, and to the children's children, to the third and fourth generation. And Moses hastened and bowed to the earth and worshiped, and said, If I have found grace before thee, let my Lord go with us, for the people is stiff-necked. And if thou shalt take away our sins and our iniquity, we will be thine. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I establish for thee in the presence of all thy people, I will do glorious things. I establish a covenant for thee in the presence of all thy people. I will do glorious things, which have not been done in all the earth, or in any nation. And all the people among with whom thou art shall see the works of the Lord, that they are wonderful, which I will do for thee. Do thou take heed to all things whatsoever I command thee. Behold, I cast out before your face the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, or the Pharisite, and the Kittite, and the Evite, and the Girgusite, and the Jebusite. And take heed to thyself, lest at any time thou make a covenant with the dwellers of the land, into which thou art entering, lest it be to thee a stumbling block. Lest it be to thee a stumbling block among you. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break in pieces their pillars, and ye shall cut down their groves, and the graven images of their gods ye shall burn with fire. For ye shall not worship strange gods. For the Lord God, a jealous name, is a jealous God. Lest at any time thou make a covenant with the dwellers of the land, and they go a whoring after their gods, and sacrifice to their gods, and they call thee, and shouldest eat of their feast. And they shouldest take of their daughters to thy sons, and thou shouldest give of thy daughters to their sons, and thy daughters should go a whoring after their gods, and thy sons should go a whoring after their gods. And thou shalt not make to thyself molten gods. And thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, as I have charged thee, at the season in the month of new corn. For in the month of new corn thou camest out of Egypt. The males are mine, everything that opens the womb, every firstborn of the oxen, and every firstborn of the sheep, and the firstborn of an ass thou shalt redeem with the sheep. And if thou wilt not redeem it, and if thou shalt not redeem it, thou shalt pay a price. Every firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem. Thou shalt not appear before me empty. Okay, quick breakdown. Everything that's going on again. He reminds Moses again, look, man, do that which is right. And he's saying, look, Moses said, we'll be to you a people and this and, that, and all that. And the Most High God is like, look, bro, check this out. Don't marry your sons to daughters of the land of the people I'm sending you to. Don't marry your daughters to the sons, right? Because they have their own beliefs. They have their own gods. I want y'all to understand this. The Most High God is brand new to everybody. Nobody knows who he is. All these other so-called gods are already established in these nations. They're already being worshipped. Right. The Most High God is like, you ain't worshiping none. They're all strange to me. Ain't none of them who I am. They ain't me. So why you going to worship them? They didn't bring you out of Egypt. I brought you out of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how people don't see the parallel of these individuals and the ancestors that you come from in this land. We literally come from a group of people who, for all intents and purposes, understood that white folks are no good. Yet, the one thing they have tried to do repetitiously is join forces with their enemies. Let their sons marry their daughters, and let their daughters marry their sons. And they have been further driven from the Most High God by believing that, number one, that all of this right here is just a happenstance. Right. Slavery just happened. Got to get over it. I'm over the fact that it happened. I'm over that. I'm not over what you ain't did for me, though. I need $1 trillion. That's the truth. I need $1 trillion. That ain't no exaggeration. Let me keep reading. We're on verse 9. No, verse 21 of chapter 34. 6 days thou shalt work, but on the seventh day thou shalt rest. There shall be a rest in seed time and harvest. And thou shalt keep to me the feast of weeks, the beginning of wheat harvest, and the feast of ingatherings in the middle of the year. 3 times in the year, 3 times in the year, every male of thine shall appear before the Lord the God, before the Lord the God of Israel. For when I shall have cast out the nations before thy face, and shall have enlarged thy coast, no one shall desire thy land. Whenever thou goest up to appear before the Lord thy God 3 times in the year, thou shalt not offer blood. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifices with leaven, neither shall the sacrifices of the feast of the Passover remain till the morning. The first fruits of the land thou shalt put in the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not boil a lamb in his mother's milk. It's again reminding us of that. And the Lord said to Moses, write thee the words for thyself, for on these words I have established a covenant with thee and with Israel. Stop right there real quick. Does anybody other than me notice the part where he's saying that no one's going to desire their land? Now, note, that's after the fact that he says 3 times in the year, every male shall appear before the Lord thy God. For when I shall cast out the nations before thy face, and shall have enlarged thy coast, no one shall desire thy land. Stop right there. Had the people actually done what they were supposed to do? Because you have to realize we don't have to be here. There was an alternative, which was them to listen to the Most High God. They didn't, for whatever reason, that was not a viable choice for many of them, at least 2/3. So we're stuck here. But that's not my biggest beef. That's not my biggest gripe. My biggest issue, my biggest gripe with all of this is the fact that people don't realize that in 3 times a year, you're getting every male, right, to come forth. So most of these dudes are probably fighting age. Some of them are younger than that, but most of them are probably fighting age men. So 3 times a year, you're literally getting, armies worth of men to gather before the Lord. Nobody's going to want to come and mess with that, right? Nobody's going to want to mess with people who 3 times in a year, every male that is of their tribe gets together. Nobody wants a problem with that. Trust me. And Moses was there before the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did not eat bread. He did not drink water. And he wrote upon the tables these words of the covenant, the 10 sayings. And Moses went down from the mountain. There were 2 tables in the hands of Moses. As then he went down from the mountain, Moses knew not the appearance of the skin of his face was glorified when God spoke to him. And Aaron and all the elders saw Moses and the appearance of the skin of his face and the appearance of this. One second. And Aaron and all the elders of Israel saw Moses, and the appearance of the skin of his face was made glorious, and they feared to approach him. And Moses called them, and Aaron, and Moses called them, and Aaron and all the elders to the synagogue towards turned towards him, and Moses spoke to them. And afterward all the children of Israel came to him, and he commanded them all things whatsoever the Lord had commanded him in Mount Sinai. And when he ceased speaking to them, he put a veil on his face. And whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak to him, he took the veil off till he went out. And he went forth to and spoke to all the children of Israel whatsoever the Lord commanded him. And the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, that it was glorified. And Moses put the veil over his face till he went to speak with him. Stop right there. Man. So notice, the first time Moses went up to the mountain and came back down, he wasn't glorified. The Most High God hadn't put that radiation on him, right? Moses went down there looking like somebody poured olive oil on his ass, okay? Okay, it was just sparkling, shining. Okay, was blood. Have y'all ever seen the light shine on somebody's face? Right. I'm assuming that it looked like Moses's face had light shining on it at all times. Right. That's what I'm assuming. Whether he was dark skinned or light skinned, I have no idea. But I'm assuming that light was shining on his face. His face was glorified. Right. He was already a good looking man. How we know this? Because when he was a baby, it was said that he was fair. So Moses wasn't an ugly dude. Having said that, we have to assume that Moses' face is literally glowing. That's what I assume. That's what I presume in my mind. I can't prove that, but that's what I think of, that his face literally was like he was full of the radiation. Whatever you consider radiation, I'm not speaking in a negative term. He was full of the power that the Most High God, the like being in his presence. And for all intents and purposes, he went up by himself. Remember, the first time he went up, he went with Joshua, right? This time he went up by himself. The Most High God glorified him all the way. When I say radiation, I'm just trying to, we've all seen movies where they make like the ooze come out the barrels and it's glowing. It's like fluorescent, or it's like glow in the dark, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay, then. That's what I visualize with Moses. And he puts a veil over his face to cover his face for however many years he's alive after that, because he's like, some of the people might have been scared, but I just think that Moses might have just thought it was a bit much. Chapter 35, verse 1. And Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said, these are the words which the Lord has spoken for you to do them. 6 days thou shalt perform work, but on the seventh day shall be rest, a holy Sabbath, a rest for the Lord. Everyone that works on it, let him die. Ye shall not burn a fire in any of your dwellings on the Sabbath day. I am the Lord. And Moses spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the Lord has appointed you, saying, take yourselves an offering of the Lord. Everyone that engages in his heart shall bring first the first fruits to the Lord. Gold, silver, brass, blue, double scarlet spun, and fine linen spun, and goat's hairs, and ram skins dyed red, and skins dyed blue, and incorruptible wood, and sardine stones, and stones for engraving the shoulder piece and full-length robe. And every man that is wise in heart among you, let him come and work in all things whatsoever the Lord has commanded. And the tabernacle and the cords and the coverings and the rings and the bars and the post and the ark of testimony and its staves and its propitiatory and the veil and the curtains of the court and its post and the emerald stones and the incense and the anointed oil and the table and all its furniture and the candle and the candlestick for the light and all its furniture, and the altar and all its furniture, and the holy garments of Aaron the priest, and the garments in which they shall do service, and the garments of priesthood for the sons of Aaron, and the anointing oil, and the compound incense. And all the congregation of the children of Israel went out from Moses. They brought they whose heart prompted them, and they to whomever it seemed good in their mind, each an offering. And they brought an offering to the Lord for all the works of the tabernacle of witness and all its services, and for all the robes of the sanctuary. And the men, and everyone to whom it seemed good in his heart, brought forth. The women even brought seals and earrings and finger rings and necklaces, and all as many to brought as brought the ornaments of gold to the Lord. And with whomsoever fine linen was found, they brought skins dyed blue and ram skins dyed red. And everyone that offered an offering brought silver and brass, the offerings to the Lord. And they whom was found incorruptible wood. And they brought offerings for all the works of preparation. And every woman skilled in her heart to spin with her hands brought spun articles, the blue and the purple and the scarlet and fine linen. And all the women, it seemed, who good in their heart and their wisdom, spun the goat's hair. And the rulers brought the emerald stones. And the rulers brought the emerald stones, and the stones for setting on the ephod, and the oracle, and the compounds for anointing oil, and the composition of the incense. And every man and woman whose mind inclined them to come and do all the works, as many as the Lord appointed them to do by Moses. They, the children of Israel, brought an offering to the Lord. And Moses said to the children of Israel, behold, God has called by name Bezalel, the son of Urias, the son of Or, of the tribe of Judah, and has filled him with the divine spirit of wisdom and understanding and knowledge of all things, to labor skillfully in all works of cunning and workmanship, to form the gold and the silver and the brass, and to work in stone, and to fashion the wood, and to work in every work of wisdom. And God gave improvement in the understanding to him, to both him and to Eliab, the son of Achisamach, of the tribe of Dan. And God filled them with wisdom and understanding and perception, to understand, to work all the works of the sanctuary, and to weave the woven and embroidered work with scarlet and fine linen, to do all the work of curious workmanship and embroidery. Stop right there, man. We're going to really hit this up real quick. Now think about this. What are the chances that Bezalel, right, was a worker who did the same kind of work in Egypt? You know, helping to build the cities, or helping to put nice things into the city. If I'm not mistaken, the people departed from Ramses, a city which they built. How do we know that this man didn't come from a seed of people who helped to build that city, right? And to do a lot of the intricate, what you would call fancy work, right? Same thing with Eliab. How do we know that he's not somebody who who did a whole bunch of work? And to give credit to the tribe of Dan, there's a man of Tyre during the days of Solomon, whose mother is of the tribe of Dan, and he comes and he does work similar like this. I forget exactly the work that he did on the temple, but he does a lot of work. Anyway, I don't want anyone to get carried away with just bringing up random stuff in the scripture, but I just thought I'd bring that up. Well, let's keep reading. And Bezalel wrought, verse 1, chapter 36, verse 1. And Bezalel wrought, and Eliab, and everyone wise and understanding, to whom was given wisdom and knowledge, to understand, to do all works according to the holy offices, according to all things which the Lord appointed. And Moses called Bezalel and Eliab and all that had wisdom, to whom God gave knowledge in their heart, and all whom were freely willing to come forward to do the works, to perform them. So no, there's a level of people here that the Most High God has anointed, okay, with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. There's another group of people here who came through with, once again, he put that in their hearts. These other individuals come through on the basis of their minds. Now, this is why I said what I said earlier. How do you know that somebody who laid with a man, as with a woman, didn't come and help and build the tabernacle? We will never know. And Moses called Bezalel and Eliab and all who had wisdom, to whom God gave knowledge in their heart, and who all freely willing came forward to the works to perform them. And they received from Moses all the offerings which the children brought for the works of the sanctuary to do them. And they continued to receive the gifts brought from those who brought them in the morning. And there came all the wise men who wrought the works of the sanctuary, each according to his own work, which they wrought. And one said to Moses, these people bring an abundance too great in proportion to all the works which the Lord has appointed them to do. And Moses commanded and proclaimed in the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman any longer labor for the offerings of the sanctuary. And the people were restrained from bringing any more. And they had materials sufficient for making the furniture, and they left some besides. And everyone wise among them that wrought made the robes of the holy places, which belonged to Aaron the priest, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he made the ephod of gold and blue and purple and spun scarlet and fine linen twined, and the plates were divided. The threads of gold, so as to interweave with the blue and purple, and with the spun scarlet and the fine linen twine. They made it a woven work. The shoulder pieces joined from both sides, a work woven by mutual twisting of the parts into one another. They made it of the same material according to the making of it, of gold and blue and purple and spun scarlet and fine linen twine, as the Lord commanded Moses. And they made the two emerald stones clasped together and set in gold, graven, and cut after the cutting into a seal, with the names of the children of Israel. And he put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, as stone of memorial of the children of Israel, as the Lord appointed Moses. And they made the oracle, a work woven with embroidery, according to the work of the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen twine. And they made the oracle square, and double the length of a span, and the breadth of a span, double. And there was interwoven with the woven work of 4 rows of stones, a series of stones. The first row, a sardius, topaz, and emerald. And the second row, a carbuncle, and sapphire, and jasper. And the third row, a ligwire, and agate, and amethyst. And the fourth row, a chrysolite, a beryl, and onyx, set round about with gold, and fastened with gold. And the stones were 12 according to the names of the children of Israel, graven according to their names, like seals, each according to his own name for the 12 tribes. And they made on the oracle turn wreaths, wreathen work of pure gold. And they made 2 golden circlets as 2 golden rings. And they put the 2 golden rings on both the upper corners of the oracle, and they put the golden wreaths on the rings of both the sides of the oracle, and the 2 wreaths into 2 couplings. And they put the 2 circlets, and they put on them the 2 circlets, and they put them on the shoulders of the ephod opposite each other in the front. And they made 2 golden rings, and put them on 2 projections on the top of the oracle, and on the top of the hinder part of the ephod within. And they made 2 golden rings, and put on both the shoulders of the ephod under it, in front of the couplings, and above the complexion of the ephod. Let me explain some of this stuff. Okay, first and foremost, let's talk about the 12 names of the tribes. I'm quite positive that the name Simeon is not written on those stones, and is not written on either stone. The emerald, the either piece of the emerald that goes from one shoulder to the other shoulders, or the parts that's in the front, the 12 stones in the front. I'm almost positive Simeon's name is not to be found. Will I call that a crime or a travesty? I won't. But all I can do is shake my head. Having said that, for people who have never watched cartoons or never watched like an anime, they try to create these sort of instances all the time where there's somebody who's dressed up in like all these regal clothes. They have rings on it. They do all that. What I imagine is you have this front part, the front part of the chest is where the stones are at, obviously, right? The ephod and the oracle are connected to some point. You can say that these are on either shoulder, but I think it may even be in the front, like where he actually has to carry it, or it's held up by his body weight, right? The actual miter itself, the hat, it has like the little part where it says, the holiness on it, right? But just imagine, like it's like a giant uniform, y'all, and it weighs who knows how much. So, man, these are pounds and pounds and pounds of gold. So Aaron has to be strong. Number one, let's go ahead and break that down. He's not a weak old man. And number two, with that being said, is that it just looks over the top. I mean, to imagine it, I'm not having a hard time imagining it. I should say I'm having a harder time explaining it. Like the blue and the scarlet spun and the fine linen spun, right? All those types of things, and the gold, right? So it's like gold, blue, a red looking color. I don't know what color the fine linen is. I can't really tell you that right there. And I really couldn't say as to what level you'll see it, but I know for sure the outwards you're going to see blue. Maybe inwardly you see the red, right? And then the fine spun linen, all that stuff is all connected. But it's like what kind of uniform could I compare this to? Even the Pope ain't nothing like this. But what the Pope wears, what the papacy wears, doesn't even come close to comparison. And if y'all think the Pope is dipped or be looking clean ever, has nothing on what is being explained to us. Now let's keep reading. One moment. Where was I just at? And they made two golden rings and put them on both the shoulders of the ephod under it. So we could say that the ephod is buried on the shoulders. I don't know. It's hard for me to say exactly where this is at, because the way that it's explained, it means that the ephod is on either shoulder outside of the stones, and then the oracle is right there on top of it. Once again, his own natural body has to bear it, and it's not falling off. That's all I'm going to say. And he fastened in front of the coupling above the connection of the ephod. Okay. And he fastened the oracle by the rings that were on it to the ring of the ephod, which they were fastened with a string of blue, joined together with the woven work of the ephod, that the oracle should not be loosed from the ephod. So the oracle is going to be tied fast. It's going to be tied nice to it, nice and tight. That the oracle should not be loosened from the ephod, as the Lord commanded Moses. And they made the tunic under the ephod, woven work, all blue, and the opening of the tunic in the midst of the woven closely together, the opening having a fringe round about that it might not be rent, and they made on the border of the tunic below pomegranates as flowering as a flowering pomegranate tree, blue, purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen twined. And they made golden bells, and put the bells on the border of the tunic round about between the pomegranates. A golden bell and a pomegranate on the border of the tunic round about for the ministration of the Lord, for the ministration, as the Lord commanded. And they made vestments of the linen, a woven work, for Aaron and his sons, and the tires of fine linen, and the mitre of fine linen, and the drawers of fine linen twined, and their girdles of fine linen, and their girdles of fine linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet spun, in the work of an embroiderer, according to the Lord, according as the Lord commanded Moses. And they made the golden plate, a dedicated thing of the sanctuary of pure gold. And he wrote upon it in graven letters, as of a seal, holiness of the Lord. And they put it on the border of blue, so that it should be on the mitre above, as the Lord commanded Moses. chapter 37, verse 1. And they made 10 curtains. And they made 10 curtains for the tabernacle of 8 and 28 cubits. The length of one curtain, the same measure was to all. And the breadth of one curtain was 4 cubits. And they made the veil of blue and purple and spun scarlet. And they put it on 4 posts of incorruptible wood, overlaid with gold, and their chapiters were gold. Those are like the parts, like it's like the base almost of a pillar, right on. It's like the part right before you get to the top of a pillar. It's like that little square or that little circular piece that's right there. That's a chapiter. Okay, where are we at? And they made the veil of the door of the tabernacle of witness of blue and purple and spun scarlet and fine linen twine, woven work with cherubs, and their posts 5, and their rings, and they gilded their chapiters, and their clasps with gold, and they had 5 sockets of brass. And they made the court toward the south, and the curtains of the court of fine linen, 100 cubits every way, and their posts 20, and their sockets 20, and on the north side 100 every way, and on the south side 100 every way, and their posts 20, and their sockets 20, and on the west side 50 cubits, and their posts 10, and their sockets 10, and on the east side 50 cubits, and their posts 10. Excuse me. Whoa. And on the east side, curtains of 50 cubits, of 15 cubits behind them. And their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And the second back, and at the second back on this side, and on that of the gate of the court, curtains of 15 cubits, their pillars 3, and their sockets 3. And the curtains of the tabernacle of fine linen twined, and the and the sockets of the pillars of brass, and their hooks of silver, and their chapiters overlaid with silver, and all the posts of the court overlaid with silver, and the veil of the gate of the court, the work of an embroiderer of blue, purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen twined, and the length of 20 cubits, and the height and the breadth of 5 cubits, made equal to the curtains of the court, and their pillars 4, and their sockets 4 of brass, and their hooks of silver, and their chapiters overlaid with silver, and all the pins of the court round about of brass, and they were overlaid with silver. And this was their construction of the tabernacle of witness, accordingly as it was appointed to Moses. So the public service should belong to the Levites through Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. And Bezalel, the son of Urias, of the tribe of Judah, did as the Lord commanded Moses. And Eliab, the son of Akishamach, of the tribe of Dan, was there, who was chief artificer in the woven works and needleworks and embroideries and weaving with the scarlet and fine linen. Okay, man, I'm gonna hit y'all with some game real quick. This is deep. So obviously everything matches. The priest match from Aaron to his sons. They're gonna have on the same clothes. Everything in the tabernacle has the same overlay. Either it's gold, silver, or brass. The actual look of the tabernacle, it has the blue, it has the red, and then some of the other parts that are smaller have the actual same clothing or the same look as those who were going to do the services for the tabernacle. So everything is supposed to be uniform. Having said that, did anybody catch this part right here? Let me read it to you. And Bezalel, the son of Urias, of the tribe of Judah. Boom, that part right there is a big deal to me. Anybody else take that and look, and then you, if you've ever read the Bible and you look into the future of the scripture, what's going to happen? Is it just to me, or is it curious that David, right? that he would betray a man whose name is Urias, who's he's not a Jehudite, but he's a Kittite. Is it, I don't know if it's by chance or by fate, that the same name of a person who helped to build the entire tabernacle is the name of a person who essentially, I'm not going to say is responsible, but is a catalyst to the true fall of the people, of the children of Israel, of the Israelites. Take that to the bank and think about it. Let's go ahead and keep reading. And Bezalel made the ark and overlaid it with pure gold within and without. And he cast for it gold, 4 golden rings, 2 on one side, 2 on the other, wide enough for the 4 staves, so that men should bear the ark with them. And he made the propitiatory over the ark of pure gold, and the 2 cherubs of gold, 1 cherub on one end of the propitiatory, 1 cherub on the other end, and another cherub on the other end of the propitiatory, overshadowing the propitiatory with their wings. He made the set table of pure gold, and cast for it 4 rings, 2 on the one side, and 2 on the one side, and 2 on the other side, broad, so that men should lift it up with the staves with them. And he made the staves of the ark and of the table, and gilded them with gold. And he made the furniture of the table, both the dishes, the censers, the cups, and the bowls, which he should offer drink offerings, of gold. And he made the candlestick, which gives light, of gold, the stems solid, and the branches from them of both sides, and blossoms proceeding from the branches, 3 on this side, 3 on the other side, made equal to each other. And as the other to their lamps, which are on the ends, knops proceeded from them, and sockets proceeded from them, and the lamps might be upon them, that the lamps might be upon them, and the seven socket on the top of the candlestick, on the summit above, entirely of solid gold, and on the candlestick 7 golden lamps, and its snuffers, and its funnels gold, its snuffers gold, and its funnels gold. He overlaid the post wherewith silver, and cast each post golden rings, and gilded the bars with gold. And he gilded the post of the veil with gold, and made the hooks of gold. And he also made the rings of the tabernacle of gold, and the rings of the court, and the rings of the drawing, and the rings for drawing out the veil above of brass, and the rings for drawing out the veil above of brass. He cast the silver chapiters. He cast the silver chapiters of the tabernacle, and the brazen chapiters of the door of the tabernacle, and the court, and the gate of the court. And he made silver hooks for the post. He overlaid them with silver on the post. He made pins of the tabernacle and pins of the court brass. He made the brazen altar of the brazen censers, which belong to the men engaged in sedition with the gathering of Korah. He made all the vessels of the altar, and its grate, and its base, and its bowls, and its brazen flesh hooks. He made an appendage for the altar of network under the grate, beneath it as far as the middle of it, and he fastened to it 4 brazen rings on the 4 parts of the appendage of the altar, wide enough for the bars, so as to bear the altar with them. He made the holy anointing oil with the composition of the incense, the pure work of the perfumer. He made the brazen laver, and the brazen base of it, of the mirrors, and the brazen base of its mirrors, of the women fastened. Let's read that again. He made the brazen laver, and the brazen base of it, and the brazen base, and the brazen base of it, of the mirrors of the women that fastened, who fastened by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. in the day in which he set it up. He made the laver and an edit. He made the laver that edit Moses and Aaron and his sons might wash their hands and their feet when they went into the tabernacle of witness, and whensoever they should advance to the altar to do service, they washed at it, as the Lord commanded Moses. Now, stop right there before we go into chapter 39 real quick, right? I want y'all to understand what I'm visualizing. So there might be a spot that's connected directly to a golden loop ring, right? Then there might be a silver ring connected to that and a brass ring connected to that, right on? You know what I'm saying? Meaning coupled together. So that some of these things that they're touching, so at the tabernacle of witness, I'll give you a prime example. The Ark of the Covenant is all gold, right? But some of the things that go around that are inside the tent, like the actual tent hook itself, like the 50 gold or the 50 silver, the 50 brass, right? All those touch and connect to a certain point, but nothing to where in which somebody who's not supposed to see the ark will see the ark. You get what I mean? So the Levites should be the first group around all of these things. They're going to set up the shop first. There's going to be, I want to say, the tribe of Judah, when they're actually given their positions, the tribe of Judah is to be in front of them. I forget who's behind them, and I forget who's to the right and who's to the north. But the way that I visualize it is, number one, we have to see it like this: is that the tabernacle, no matter if you want to say that there's one building here, another building here, and then there's the court, right? So you could technically claim that there's three buildings. No matter how you put it, at some point the tabernacle is connected. All these things are either right adjacent to one another or they're connected with these loop rings, right? So we have to look at it as like one of these is for where all the cooking is done, and then the other part is where you actually go in and minister to God. I know that seems like, well, what's the difference? Okay, well, when you go in and you speak to the Most High God, right? That's totally, totally different from you making a blood sacrifice, a burnt offering to Him. The two things don't coexist together. They're not the same. So we need to be able to realize that and then say, okay, a person might go in to minister to the Most High God just to speak to Him, right? Because He's so great. I mean, has that ever dawned on anybody other than myself and the few other zealots that are truly alive to this day, that you don't have to have a reason to want to minister to Him? But this is why the head priest is the one who goes into this. It's not everybody. It's the one man. So it's not even Moses' job to minister to the Most High God, but Aaron's job. And did the Most High God take that job from him, even though Aaron made that golden calf? No, He did not. Right. So we need to realize that the Most High God, number one, is merciful and gracious. But outside of that, He has it set up to where the blame will be set. When I think about the priesthood and I think about them going astray, I think about Aaron. I don't think about Moses. You follow what I'm saying? So the priesthood failed because of the incomplete faith that was harbored in the heart of Aaron. Not to say that he didn't believe in God, but to say that he didn't have complete, total, utter faith. Because had he, it wouldn't have taken Moses to come down from the mountain to kill all those people, to get them out. Wouldn't have to kill anybody. You just would have told them, hey, look, if y'all want to get stupid, you can get hurt. But they were so ashamed of themselves that everybody scattered, because once again, Aaron told them to scatter, and then 3,000 of them ended up getting killed in the end of that. Okay, then. Now let's read chapter 39, verse 1. All the gold that was employed for the works, according to all the fabrication of the holy things, was the gold of offering, 29 talents, and 720 shekels, according to the holy shekel. And the offering of silver from men that were numbered of the congregation was 100 talents, and 1,775 shekels, 1 didrachim apiece, even the half shekel, according to the holy shekel. Every one that passed the survey from 20 years, everyone that passed the survey from 20 years old and upwards to the number of 600,000 and 3,550. So remember, each person was supposed to give a half of a shekel for their when they were numbered. Remember the part that we read earlier where it said that if the people would give their ransom, right? That the Most High God would not destroy them in the visitation. So it's saying right here, I don't know if everybody gave what they were supposed to give, but this is what I'm going to read the number of people again, then we're going to read the number of shekels. And the number, excuse me, everyone that passed the survey from 20 years old and upwards to the number of 600,000, right? And 3,550. So there's 600,000, 300,000, 603,550. And the 100 talents of silver went to the casting of the chapiters and to the chapiters of the veil, 100 chapiters to the golden, to the 100 talents, a talent to the chapiter. 100 chapiters to the 100 talents, a talent to a chapiter. So literally, whatever a chapiter of gold is, whatever, or a chapiter of silver, they needed to have one whole talent for that. So if we were to do the math, I can't think of every little single spot, but there's 29 talents of gold, I want to say. Let's read that again. There are 29 talents of gold, so that's 29 chapiters, right? And there's 100 talents of silver, so that's 100 silver chapiters that they could have done altogether. Okay, boom, bam, bang. No big deal there. The what I'm trying to point out to y'all is the Most High God might be telling us while reading this, and I'm gonna have to read it carefully again. I'll read it with y'all, but I'll have to read it again to myself. I'm trying to see if the unit of measurement here is indicative that they actually gave up what they were supposed to give up, or they gave up less, even though they stopped taking it from the people, right? Even though there was so much of everything. I'm not sure they gave up as much as they were supposed to give. Let's just say it like that. And the brass of the offering was 70 talents. By the word 70, it's actually 470 talents, and 1,500 or 2,400 shekels, and not 1,500. There's corrections down there, and I wanted to put those corrections in there because normally you're going to give up more brass than you are silver and gold. And they made of it the bases of the door of the tabernacle of witness, and the bases of the court round about, and the bases of the gate of the court, and the bases of the gate of the court, and the pins of the tabernacle, and the pins of the court round about, and the brazen appendages, and the brazen appendage of the altar, and the vessels of the altar, and all the instruments of the tabernacle of witness. And the children of Israel did as the Lord commanded Moses. So did they. And of the gold that remained of the offering, they made vessels to minister with before the Lord. And the blue that was left, and the purple and the scarlet that was left, they made into the garments of ministry for Aaron, so that he should minister with them in the sanctuary. And they brought the garments to Moses, and the tabernacle, and its furniture, and the bases, and its bars, and its post, and the ark of the covenant, and its bearer, and the altar, and all its furniture. And they made the anointing oil, and the incense, and the incense of composition, and the pure candlestick, and its lamps, and the lamps for burning, and the oil for light, and the table of shewbread, and all its furniture, and the shewbread upon it, and the garment of the sanctuary, and the garments of sanctuary which belonged to Aaron, and to the garments of his sons for the priestly ministry, and the curtains of the court, and the post, and the veil of the door of the tabernacle, and the gate of the court, and all the vessels of the tabernacle, and all the instruments, and the skins, even rams, skins dyed red, and the blue coverings, and the coverings of the other things, and the pins, and all the instruments for the works of the tabernacle of witness. Whatsoever things the Lord appointed Moses, so did the children of Israel make all the furnitures. And Moses saw all the works, and they had done all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So they made them, and Moses blessed them. Listen to this part right here. As we read the very last chapter of the Exodus, chapter 40, verse 1. I need y'all to understand this. It's telling us that they did everything. They made it the cubits to the height. They made the basis for everything to be put in a certain way. They did it all the right way. They didn't try to cheat. They didn't try to skip. They didn't do none of that. Everything is the way it's supposed to be. And Moses is what? Now Moses has blessed them, right? Now we're going to skip forward. We're going to read this last part, and I'm going to do a brief overview of everything that we've read so far. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, at the new moon, thou shalt set up the tabernacle of witness, and thou shalt place in it the ark of testimony. On what? The first day of the first month, at the new moon. So that means that the Most High God knew that the new moon was going to come on the first day of the first month. And thou shalt place in it the ark of testimony, and thou shalt cover the ark with the veil, and thou shalt bring in the table and set forth that which is to be set forth on it. And thou shalt bring in the candlestick, and place its lamps on it. And thou shalt place the golden altar to burn incense before the ark. And thou shalt put a covering of veil on the door of the tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt put the altar of burnt offerings, and thou shalt put the altar of burnt offerings by the door of tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt set up the tabernacle round about, and thou shalt hollow all that belongs to it round about, make it holy. And thou shalt take the anointing oil, and thou shalt anoint the tabernacle and all things in it, and sanctify it, and its furniture, and it shall be holy. And thou shalt anoint the altar of burnt offerings, and all its furniture, and thou shalt hallow the altar, and the altar shall be most holy. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the doors of the tabernacle of witness, and thou shalt wash them with water, and thou shalt put on Aaron the holy garments, and thou shalt anoint them, and thou shalt sanctify him, and he shall minister to me as a priest. And thou shalt bring up his sons, and thou shalt put garments on them, and thou shalt anoint them as thou didst anoint their father, and they shall minister to me as priests. And it shall be that they shall have an everlasting anointing of priesthood throughout their generations. And Moses did all things whatsoever the Lord commanded him. So did he. And it came to pass in the first month, in the second year after their going forth, so it took over a year to build all this, in their second year after going forth out of Egypt, at the new moon, that the tabernacle was set up. And Moses set up the tabernacle, and put on the chapiters, and put on the bars in their places, and put the bars into their places, and set up the post. And he stretched out the curtains over the tabernacle, and put the veil of the tabernacle on it above the Lord, and put the veil of the tabernacle on it above, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he took the testimonies, and he put them into the ark, and he put the staves by the sides of the ark. And he brought the ark unto the tabernacle, and put on it the covering of the veil, and covered the ark of testimony, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he put the table in the tabernacle of witness. And he put the table in the tabernacle of witness on the north side, without the veil of the tabernacle. And he put on it the shewbread before the Lord. And the Lord commanded Moses, as the Lord commanded Moses, And he put the candlestick in the tabernacle of witness, on the side of the tabernacle toward the south. And he put on it its lamps before the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he set the golden altar in the tabernacle of witness before the veil. and he burnt on it incense of composition, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he put the altar of burnt offerings by the door of the tabernacle. And he set up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar. And Moses accomplished all works. And the cloud covered the tabernacle of witness. And the tabernacle was filled with the glory of the Lord. And Moses was not, listen, and Moses was not able to enter into the tabernacle of testimony because the cloud overshadowed it. And the tabernacle was filled with the glory of the Lord. And when the cloud went up from the tabernacle, the children of Israel prepared to depart with their baggage. And if the cloud went not up, they did not prepare to depart till the day when the cloud went up. For a cloud was on the tabernacle by day, and fire on it by night, before all Israel and all their journeyings. Okay, stop right there. Major things. First and foremost, they can only go into the tabernacle when the Most High God lets them go inside of there. That's letting us know that. Talking about Moses. Secondly, this is epic. This is huge. Did y'all catch that part right there at the end? That the Most High God, even though it tells us that he was a cloud, right, by day and a pillar of fire by night for all 40 years that they were in the wilderness, the only time he would have been a pillar of a cloud was when they were actually traveling with the tabernacle, like actually were bearing it. They were actually carrying it from one place to another. Otherwise than that, think about this. It has a cloud around it all day, and then at night it's on fire and it's not burning up ever. That's not amazing to anybody other than little old me. I can't be the only one who finds this impressive. That is the end of the Exodus. In 3 days, we've knocked down 40 chapters. I've done my best to break it down. There are 7 hours, 8 hours for the chapters. So that's plenty of time to have read it. I've given my 2 cents about it. I've said what I think about it. Going forward, like I said, I will start the Leviticus as soon as I can. Give me a little bit of time, though. Like I said, this takes a lot. It takes more out of me than people think it does to sit down here and read just like this. It's not physically exhausting, it's mentally exhausting. And I have to keep my wits about me. So, what else am I going to say? What else am I going to say? The people, when it was being built, the actual Ark of Testimony, I mean, like the Ark, right? I believe that once Bezalel built it, it was covered. I believe they built the veil first, and then they built the ark. Does that make sense? So that way they could cover it once it was complete. Now, I'm not saying that nobody never seen the ark, but once it was in there, it was not for anyone's eyes to lay upon. I cannot stress and express enough to y'all how this whole situation relates to us right now. Now, my personal take on it is that while we're in this land, right, the Most High God tells us that he tells us through the prophets that when we leave here, that even the lame will leave with much loot. Now, why that's so important is because, not to say that there were no lame people back then, no one who couldn't walk back then. And thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I really do. I have to contend that in this land, there are far more black people who are physically incapable than there were back in those days. When I say the proof to what I'm saying is this. Do y'all remember how the Most High God puts a limitations on how long the Levites should work and then how long regular people should work? My opinion on that, I can't prove it, but my opinion on that is that while the people were in Egypt, some of them were being literally worked to death. Could you imagine from the time you were, I don't know, 11 or 12 or 13, a little boy, to the time you were like 115, you literally worked like 100 years, right? Could you imagine that? You worked your whole life and you worked yourself to death, right? The Most High God seen that and was not pleased with that. I know he wasn't. So he put limitations, and we're going to read all that stuff going forward in the other books. But he put limitations on it just for that reason. Because he's like, my people are not going to work themselves to death. And somebody who's too old to be doing the work is not going to be asked to do that work. You get what I'm saying? So when they're carrying the ark of the the ark of the tabernacle, wasn't the ark of testimony, I believe that those are the most able-bodied men that Levi has to offer. The lighter the load, the older you probably are. Even though a man in his 50s is more than likely stronger than a person who's physically fit in their 50s is going to be stronger than a whole lot of people who are younger than them. So there's no real age group I need to pick, but a person in their 20s is not stronger than a man in his 50s. A dude in his 30s is not stronger than a man in his 50s. Got to go get somebody in their 40s to kind of even match that power. And I'm being dead serious, you know. So people would think that the heavier stuff would be carried by the men of the most strength. Your youngest, most able-bodied, right on, who are trying to build their power up. Right. You get what I'm saying? There's a way to build you up by the work that you do. Anyway, I'm getting carried away into other parts of the scripture. I just need to stay right here on the Exodus. Anybody notice the fact that this is 2 years later? So the building of everything, they obviously stayed in one. It doesn't tell us that they moved around at all while this was happening, right? It tells us that they knew when they had to leave because the cloud would go up into the sky. Right. That was their call sign. Now, one of these days, people are going to appreciate that they seem more like the Israelites or the children of Israel than they don't. They really are going to see it, and it's going to probably hit them in their head when they least either expect it or when they can least afford it. It's a shame that people don't see that these are their ancestors in this book. Right. Any one of you could be related to Bezalel. Any one of you could be related to Eliab. Any one of you could be related to Moses or Aaron, his brother. Right? Any one of you could come from, could have been birthed from the loins of Miriam, their sister, the prophetess. Any one of y'all could be of a true royal lineage. That's what I'm trying to say. Or just of a lineage of people that tried to do the best that they could. That's what you got to start looking at. Did our ancestors sin? Do all of us sin in our own ways still to this very day? Yes. Some sin. When I say this, I say this to not make it seem as if there's perfect people out there, but some people sin far less than others. What they do does not affect everyone else like the sins of another person. Then there's other individuals whose sins are so great, it can't be overlooked. It can't be mitigated, and it can't be, you can't talk about it enough in so many instances. I bless y'all, brothers and sisters. I know it's dark back here. I apologize for not doing it earlier. I took a nap today. Forgive me. That being said, I appreciate all your time that you've given this. I'm hoping in the next 7 days I'll start my Levite thing up, but I want to do some other works in a couple other areas, talk about a few other things. So I'm going to put this on the shelf just for a moment, and then I'm going to focus my attention elsewhere. But brothers and sisters, man, I salute you. I salute you. I salute you again. Okay? It has been a blessing of blessings, my brothers and my sisters. It really has. The Exodus has been broken down again, this time from a point of view where I'm not just reading it to you. I'm trying to actually show you the things that I perceive. I can't stress to you enough that there's a correlation between all the people being numbered, the 600,350, 3,550, and then the amount of gold, silver, and brass that was given may not have been enough. Even if it was more than what was needed, it may not have been enough to keep the Most High God from destroying the people in the time of their visitation. Man is deep. Anyway, this has been the Exodus. May tomorrow be better than today, and may your next 7 days be better than the last. We're done.